I was waiting.
Man, I really messed that up.
That's like,
well, I'm not going live at 10:45. We're going live at 10. We are here with the Comics Aficionados on Thinking Critical YouTube. Got a fantastic show for you today. I guess I messed up the start time, but hopefully people have figured out that we're actually not starting 45 minutes later than normal. Got a fantastic show for you. Got a great panel. Exciting stuff popping off today. Returning to the panel is Kenneth Dowling. It's Spider-Man Day, and you wear your damn X-Men shirt. What happened?
I like to change things up, man. These are my favorite characters, you know. John Romita Jr. style right here, classic black costume, and you know, he's got to switch it up. So,
man, I thought you're the Spider-Man guy.
I am a Spider-Man guy. I can like everything.
So how you been, Ken? Ken, how's your comic book coming?
It's coming, yeah. With my first storyline, just trying to work out some edges. I'm also been looking at artists as well, maybe looking into crowdfunding stuff, but just how to see if I can manage the funds. Have you guys heard of an artist named John Boy Myers?
Yes.
Yes, he's Filipino, right?
He's really good, is all I know.
Yes, he is.
He is good.
Excellent.
Yeah. I just got to.
That's who you're going to hire? That would be amazing.
Hopefully. I'm just looking at different things. But first things first. I got to finish the stories and whatnot. So.
Well, very good. Hopefully it's not too hot down there. It seems like everyone's having a heat wave right now.
Oh, please. Heat wave. I was in Chicago. I tell you about heat wave. Oof.
It was Windy City. What else we got here? Returning to the channel, we've got Yule Carter from Fantastic Comics. How things going, Yule?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me on. I sell comics every week.
Did you sell out of Amazing Spider-Man 31?
Not yet.
Oh, man, I hope you do. Get rid of it while you can.
I want to, it might be the breaking point for some people. Do you hear that by any chance?
I
Yes.
do. Someone's
Okay.
got some.
It's not me, right?
Nah, I don't know.
We should have like trolled you and been like, "Here, what? What?
I don't think it's you or Josh because you guys were muted.
Yep.
Yeah, things are great. Love selling comic books.
Did you like ASM 31?
You know, the second half of the book was bullshit.
The vignettes?
And
the first half was too. It was 20 pages of Bachelor Party.
Well, it kind of was. I thought there was some good character development stuff going on, and as a Spider-Man issue, it wasn't really that strong, but as a Peter Parker issue, it was pretty okay. I thought, oh no, I exactly see what people are going to be upset about, and then it was course corrected in the story, and I was like, all right, this is awesome. And then it went to the other part, and I'm like, oh, this is what's going to piss people off.
I was pissed off because it's $10, and you don't really.
Oh, beforehand. The $10.
Yeah.
Before everything. Yeah, it was all right, but we'll talk about that.
We're definitely going to talk about it. I got to hear from Kenneth. He's the big Spider-Man fan. But
Right.
I know you're a Spidey guy, too. I remember you started
Yeah.
yelling at people at one time. I think you were chastising Fatal J, weren't you?
Well, it was Fatal J, so I have a reason for doing it, right?
Apparently. I don't understand why no one likes Fatal J as much as I do.
Come on. I don't hate Fatal J. I told him that we needed to do a fake argument, and he just doesn't pick up on it. He needs to get that steam going. It will help me out.
You got to fight back.
They'll be like, oh, man, this guy is attacking this guy. That is horrible. Horrible stuff going on right here.
Poor Fatal J. Next up, we got Jim from Weird Science Comics. Are you still banned by DC Comics?
Yeah, still banned. I thought I was banned from the show. I was waiting here. I see all people talking trash in the comments. I was like, I didn't get a link. What the heck? I thought I was
bad.
like,
Apparently, I didn't send it to you.
I was shadow banned, I guess, is what
My bad.
happened. It probably
Did
by
you
the end,
almost
people
perish
want
this
that.
week, Jim? That's what everyone wants to know. Did you almost bite the dust?
No, just from old age. That's always on the table. So that
My wife says I look 10 years younger now that I've trimmed my beard down
Really?
from homeless to like a teenage beard.
Yes, you definitely look like a teenager. Tell her.
I know.
Yeah. My wife doesn't
45-year-old
say
man.
stuff to me like that. She tells me just to leave the room and things like that. So it's
You don't
fine.
get the sass anymore?
Not really. I get ignored. Just like again, I thought everybody was ignoring me, and that's why I knew that it wasn't me with those notifications popping up because nobody pays attention to me. So I would never get any sort of noisy notifications. But that's it.
Yeah, that's
Should
on
be a
me.
bit okay.
See, you're popular. I am not.
What are you talking about? Your YouTube channel's blowing up.
Oh, it's gonna blow up. It is.
What do you have? You
People
get 5,000
arguing with me
now?
all the time. That I think it's like 180,000 at this point.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, that'd be
That's-
awesome.
yeah,
But yeah,
quite a bit.
more people arguing with me is what it is.
Man, I told you the secret to YouTube is not to argue with people.
I know. It is kind of counterproductive, isn't it? Argue
Yeah,
with
you just
people.
waste your time.
Oh,
You could be
wow.
making another video.
That is true.
Or making a better thumbnail.
Something.
Remember I talked to you about your thumbnails? And then you're like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And then you didn't do it.
Well, I kind of did. I mean, that seems like you're just getting sassy with my thumbnails now.
I'm just saying they're not very good, Jim.
All
That's
right.
I'm pointing out.
Thanks a lot. Now you got me depressed.
Well,
I'll go.
thumbnails are
I'll
the most
I'll
important
make
part of
better
the video.
thumbnails. Okay.
Who else we got? We got another man that's blowing up on YouTube, Josh McDonald from Popeye Culture. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing all right, Wes. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Why are you moving away from the mic? You're throwing up the levels.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was going to be too loud. So, no, I was going to say I didn't notice Jim's tagline and his name until he started. And then,
Yes,
I thought it
that's
was
for
funny.
you, Josh. That was more for last week. I didn't change it,
What's
but
for last week?
it's always the same.
And you guys, I'm sorry for the lighting in this room. There's random clouds coming through, and it's changing the sun. And
It's
so
kind of
I'm
like
gonna-
bisexual lighting, Josh, and it doesn't feel like a good representation of you.
I know. Sorry, I'm gonna try to bring the rainbow back.
Absolutely. Let's get this thing a little bit like popping. Man, who else we got? Doc, you and I already reviewed ASM 31. That'll be up on Monday. We also talked about Tom Brevoort taking over the X-Men. How you doing, Doc?
I am fine, sir. Thank you for having me on the show and welcome everybody. We're I think we got a decent show today.
Should be a lot of fun.
It should
Everyone might
be.
find out. Let's hear from the people. We do have a few super chats that everyone wants to talk about. Common Sense says, "Good news, everyone. Say it in Professor Farnsworth voice. Ultra Mega returns in 2024. The source is from Felix Comic Art." That is good news, Yule, because Ultra Mega was actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, well, that was excuse me, James Herron, I think, and he does really good big monster, and it's like a kaiju thing, also Ultraman-esque. If I got the right book.
I don't think it's like Ultraman because he turns into a kaiju, doesn't he?
Well, that's what I mean. Well, Ultraman's the guy that fights the kaiju, right?
Yeah.
That's what I meant. It's like a little
I
bit
know
of
the
all
first
of it.
issue, when the hero died, I was a little confused.
Well, yeah, it was so.
Turns out it's his son.
Yeah, exactly. We're following all for like the most of the first issue. The main character dies. Spoilers. And then the son takes over. But that's classic storytelling and superheroes especially. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. I didn't know,
Everyone
but
should be.
anytime this guy does any artwork, it's always fantastic. And Felix Comic Art always has the ends with the greatest for these days.
He's the scooper now? It's not me?
Well, no, he's not the scooper. Well, yeah, he's the scooper. He sells everybody's original artwork for like thousands of dollars. When I was saying that the Daniel Warren Johnson Transformers may not do as well as everybody thinks, the one person who's going to do really well is Daniel Warren Johnson and Felix Comic Art, because that's going to sell like crazy.
Absolutely. Caleb says, "I'm happy that Doc tried something different this week and I liked it. Hope to see more videos like that, Doc."
Cool. I mean,
So
it
we
was
were
a
going to
good
do
book.
Superman versus Meatballs this week and you said no.
Exactly. Seems like a waste of time. I wanted to read something that I liked. And then I
So we
read
did Spider-Man
Amazing
31?
Spider-Man 31.
Yeah, that didn't really go very well. But hey, Doc he doesn't hate everything. If you actually make him read a good comic book, he's got a good review in it.
Yeah,
That was a lot of fun doing that fake red review.
it really was. I very much enjoyed it. And you know, I'm happy to see if we can I'd be happy to read more of it. In fact, I actually bought it. It's arriving.
It's arriving today.
Yes.
Very nice.
I want
There
to
you
say
go. We got
it was
talk
a
on
good
the manga.
interview. It was a good review, by the way, guys. That was a great video.
Oh, thanks.
I want to
A
let you
lot
know.
into that one. Lade says, for Yule listening to me complain about ASM 31 yesterday, I expect some laughing after the second worst breakup logic this side of one more day.
I don't know if I put it on that.
It was just so like, why did you even do any of this? She was just gonna be like, I never even try to turn you evil, so I can't really be interested in you. And he's like, and I never try to make you good, so I must not be interested in you. Maybe we shouldn't be together. And I was like, okay. That's the big
Well, the last time they were hanging out, if I remember correctly, they were just kind of like hooking up. And it always seemed like when Peter was like screwing up in his normal life, he would go and bang the black cat. And they call that
the worst position for her to be in,
Well, I guess she wants more. And now she can go explore that.
Somebody else. Maybe with it's not Robbie. What's the kid's name?
Randy.
Maybe she can explore it with Randy now that he's
Oh,
not
I
married.
was thinking she'd be hooking up with that beetle more than that.
Caleb says, Cloudfish did a video. Did you see how stupid the real life Hellfire Gala looked at San Diego Comic Con? No, I didn't. But I imagined it looked really stupid. Was I correct?
I thought it was all right. I mean, they had the glimmering portals that you walk through, and then it was a different area. And then they had cardboard cutouts of Marvel characters there. and ugly people in costumes that were attending. Thank God they were wearing costumes.
Did you go to San Diego Comic Con this year?
Please.
If you would you have gone to the Hellfire Gala?
No. Well, no, probably not.
No,
What, you want this?
Of course not. I'm not dumb.
I'm not.
I don't know.
This is how I'm going if I'm going to the gala.
Last night watched the stream. They reviewed Elseworld Superman, the Dark Side comic series. Man, it was awesome. Of course, it's not in print. I haven't read that one. Is that one good?
I never read it. I don't do Elseworlds or What If as much as other people.
I
Or
like Elseworlds, but I haven't read that one. And I specifically
it was like a
Superman.
3 or 4 issue miniseries. When they start doing What If and Elseworlds in miniseries form, I really don't like them. It's like,
Oh,
what?
well.
Come on.
Maybe it's something I have to look out for. No one's really ever said I needed to read that story. I gotta check it out. Daniel Beatty, I got nothing. Just wanted to say thank you. Well, thank you very much, Daniel. I hope you enjoy the show. We're gonna have a lot of fun today talking about the things that are going on and simulate being real life people in real life comic book shops while we're in our living rooms. Caleb says Kaiju number 8 showed a trailer, and on Ultraman, there's a CGI series like a soft sequel. It's very much like Iron Man meets Men in Black. Is that a good way to describe it?
I have no idea. I didn't see it. But that sounds interesting. I mean, that would be a thing to do with Iron Man rather than Diaries.
Because there's a couple of Ultraman shows on Netflix. I assume that's what he's talking about. I didn't know that there was a Kaiju number 8 trailer. Might have to go check that one out. I like Kaiju number 8. It's a really good show. Tommy reviews. Hail Wes and gang. Glad to hear from my favorite comic book podcast on my way to a local con. Going to be hanging out with friends Dan and Scott Hanna. Well, that's absolutely awesome. I hope you guys have fun. If it's in the Chicago area, you should go see our friends over at HH German, the guys at Sigma Comics. They're going to be there, as well as all the guys from Comics Elite are going to be there as well. You can go see Drew and the gang. That'll be a lot of fun. And I hope you have fun at the con. And thank you very much for supporting the channel. Very nice. Everybody seems to be in a good mood today. Let's see if we can ruin that. And talk about some Spider news. We're just going to break out into Spider-Man 31, but we got to talk about the big preview, Doc. I know you're a big Spider-Man fan. That's your number 2 team, / character to the X-Men.
Hell yeah.
And they're promising us we're going to get a sequel to the most notorious Spider-Man story ever told. You see the image. It says 2, and apparently we're bringing back radioactive spider jizz to the Marvel Comics universe. It doesn't matter how good that story was or any of that stuff, but the radioactive spider semen will overshadow everything about it till the end of times, no matter what they do.
Oh yeah, exactly. There is literally nothing they can do to prevent us from immediately just going, spider jizz. That's it. I mean, that's what we're going to be thinking the entire time, and ain't nothing to prevent it.
It's just exactly what I was looking for, Kenneth, as far as getting me more interested in Spider-Man. Spider-Man Reign, the sequel. What do you think about that idea?
Nah, it's a very, very poor like copying of Dark Knight Returns. You know, because remember, if Kraven's Last Hunt was like a more spiritual like copy of Dark Knight Returns, which is much better. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't interested in that story to begin with. So why are they doing a sequel? I'm not interested.
They ran out of ideas. They already regurgitated everything else.
The house of no ideas. The house of low expectations.
Oh, that's a fairly accurate description.
Yeah.
Also, I was going to say, am I the only one that thought that cover looked terrible?
With the MJ clone like grabbing onto him, like he was grabbing onto the headstone.
Like when you try to start sorting out where the body is actually going and how the body's actually moving, it just looks weird.
Oh, no,
Corey Andrews has a certain style to his art, and you know sometimes it can be a little confusing. And I think Spider-Man Reign also has like it even leans into that more than like maybe if you read his Amazing Fantasy when it was coming out or something, or even what's the one with the kid with the Erratic. Thank you. Which is a little, you know, that's a lot more standard comic book fare as far as the art. But, you know, I feel like he's a really good artist, but maybe not always the greatest writer. And I only ever read the first issue of Spider-Man Reign. So I don't know anything about this spider jizz. I only know about Peter Parker's peenie. Little Petey. But that's in the first
You
issue.
never got to the part where Mary Jane died because he gave her cancer with his jizz?
No, was that in the last issue or is that in the first issue?
I can't remember exactly what
I don't
issue it
remember.
was
I
in.
mean, you know.
It's in the story. That's how she died.
No, because I didn't finish it. Again, I don't like What If and Elseworld stuff, so it doesn't.
This is the Dark Knight Returns for Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, you know, the Dark Knight Returns isn't going to happen either, so it's just a What If story. It's just an Elseworld story. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a universe where it happened. Who gives a shit? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're it's confirmed that this is the sequel to Spider-Man Reign because the article was saying that's one of the possible stories this is going to be the sequel to.
Well, because the art looks exactly, it's an homage to the cover for Spider-Man Reign, where he's holding the tombstone that says Mary Jane on it, and he's sitting there, and Mary Jane, the clone of her, is holding him. Right?
Because the article also mentioned they were going to do a sequel to God, what's the other derided Spider-Man story? One More Day.
Sins Past and One More Day.
Yeah.
Didn't they already do one for One More Day?
Well, the recent story with Nick Spencer, that whole thing of that one was like they were gonna retcon One More Day. That's what he was leading to. But to me, he didn't deliver. That's what really ruined that run in my eyes.
No, he just did Sins Past.
Yeah, he retconned Sins Past. Supposedly they wouldn't let him do it. He wanted to do the One More Day deal, and they pulled him back.
Well, he was doing it. They just never finished it.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this, Jim? As somebody that came later to comic books, are you excited to explore radioactive spider semen?
No, and I have read the story, but I'm still with Yule. I don't really care about What Ifs or Elseworlds as much, and the idea of having a sequel to one is even less exciting. And just on top of that, Marvel constantly is just renaming new events with old names. So when you get this as an announcement, it just is like, oh, here we go again. It's just the same old, same old. Just seems, stale before it even comes out.
Everything
And that cover
seems
sucked.
stale right now.
Yeah, it does. Very stale, very boring.
But according to Tom Brevoort, who's moving over to the X-Men office, he said, "Why should we change anything? It's our number one selling book." And I'm like, "Yeah, but would it have been your number one selling book 10 years ago? It would have even made the top 10. Like, I think your sales have just gone down."
Yeah, it's hard to even tell what the sales really are. Like when they say the biggest sales, that might be such a lower level than what was before anyway. And I mean, it's Spider-Man. You can't sit there and brag about like stuff like that because that should be your biggest book. But again, most of the stuff is just boring. Not as boring as my thumbnails, though, is what I've been hearing. But still boring.
What'd you do with your
This
thumbnails?
guy's good.
No, nothing about them. No, I didn't do anything. I'm about to tear them
Scroll
all
'em or
down.
something?
Everybody's pissing me off now, but that's fine. But again, though, this Spider-Man Reign, if you don't end up doing the radioactive sperm, right, then people are going to be like upset that but you don't want to do that again. It's just nonsense. Like
It doesn't matter what they do. They can do everything they can to take that away from there and put it in a positive light and do an excellent story. When you hear Spider-Man Reign, you think about radioactive
jizz
that killed MJ.
Yep. Yeah.
Exactly. All the Watchmen, but they decided to stick with it instead of making it apply.
And then if you don't get it, it's not as sexy, and then people will be upset because
So since I didn't read it, did he do it Superman style or Hulk style, where like his radiation kills her later?
It was his radiation.
over years.
Oh, okay, very good.
Yeah, of
So not Superman
specifically his
style.
fluids that did it.
About a teaspoon at a time of radiation
Thanks, Doc.
poisoning.
I'm glad you measured that out.
Teaspoon at a time, huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Over the years, he's just been trying to impregnate her like over and over again. This wasn't all about that, though, I'm sure.
You guys know that Tom Petty song, "Last Dance with Mary Jane," one more time. That picture, for a second, that's what that reminds me of. Peter Parker dance with Mary Jane's dead body. Like,
Oh my goodness.
Mary Jane.
That's it.
Now we're
Radioactive-
necrophilia, huh?
All right,
Radioactive jizz all over. It just
There
dances.
you go, Jim. There's the song you need to do.
Yes, that's it.
That's the song right there.
You walk into the bedroom, you're like, I don't even need a black light. It's just glowing. It's everywhere. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
I don't
He's
know,
a
Doc.
bad shot.
As someone that's the biggest pervert on the panel, this seems like something that would have been right up your alley.
I thought it was really dumb when they did it in Rain the first time. I mean, what the hell are they going to do this time? What, now Black Cat's going to die from it? Because he banged her for a couple of years? What the hell?
No, you got to beware the kid that can come to fruition.
No, you know what?
And then, then there's
Is that innuendo or is that a real point?
Well,
no.
I mean, wait.
What
You said the C word. I was like, I'm not sure what he's saying here.
No, I mean, I just think that you're the only reason that I bought the original one, because I kind of wanted to see that kind of more adult, like the not spandex costume that they gave him back in that original one, where it was kind of like it was like a Spider-Man jacket. And I thought it was a cool character. It was a cool design for like an older Peter Parker that didn't feel like putting this thing over his head anymore. And then I read it and I was horribly disappointed. Does anybody want I mean, this would be like,
no, you know what
saying,
happened, Doc. They go to Kari Andrews and say, "Are you willing to do something for us?" And we'd like a 5-issue mini or whatever it is. And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And they're like, "Well, what if you do a sequel to Spider-Man Reign?" I mean, I don't know. I wonder if he brought it to them or if they wanted him to do it.
If they brought it to him, then I'm pretty sure that no one in that office ever actually read Spider-Man Reign.
Well, they're trying to bill it as something that is so shocking that it happened the first time that they're going back to it. So
It wasn't shocking. It was embarrassing.
Well, Well, you don't say embarrassing when you're plugging your own stuff, though. You
Yes.
say it's
Shocking.
shocking. It was the
Notorious.
most talked about story. It's notorious. It's
it-
infamous.
It would be like if they decided to do a secret or a sequel to that Nick Fury's Secret War, or the one that sort of led into New Avengers,
Or
if they
Punisher
just-
being an angel.
yeah, like Frankencastle. Do a sequel to
What?
Frankencastle. Oh, you know,
Oh, yeah.
where he was like
yeah.
literally
Oh, yeah.
like a Frank. They like
That's what I'm
Frankenstein.
saying. People are going, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you know what? Identity Disc. Does anybody remember that one that happened?
Dude,
to came out?
Identity Disc is the biggest piece of shit.
Yes, exactly.
Anybody that doesn't like comics now should go read Identity Disc.
Yes. I mean, because it came out at the same time as Identity Crisis.
That's Scott Lobdell.
No, that was
Meltzer.
Brad Meltzer,
Yeah.
like the
Dude.
novelist.
If they would have just not done Identity Disc, Identity Crisis would have been the worst thing that year.
Yeah. And it would have absolutely been the worst thing with the word identity in it.
Yeah, definitely that.
But yeah, so like this would be find one of those god awful because you know what, as much as we like to talk about how the mid 2000s had a bit of a renaissance for comics, like early mid 2000s, it also had a lot of complete and utter shit.
I think in every decade we see that, though. Really,
What was the
it just doesn't feel as bad,
Not
I mean,
age.
personally, I don't like Avengers West Coast.
Let's get Heroes in Crisis 2. I read.
yeah, exactly.
Sequel everyone asked for.
You
The
shut your
80s
mouth, Wes.
Yeah.
The 80s are the perfect decade of comics.
Perfect.
Like
Agreed.
I can. I'll.
Six of the best 10 best runs of all time.
I'm gonna US1 you and say you're wrong.
Well, what's the
That's
best
what you
decade?
guys need to do. A retro on US1, please. And if you don't
What was
know that, go look it up.
What was the Marvel?
oh, Marvel.
Marvel. Yeah. Yeah.
No, no, no.
Marvel.
Yeah, that was
That
bad.
was bad.
That was
Um,
that
Get a
was the,
sequel to that one.
yeah, that was the one that that was done as I guess a bet.
yeah,
Yeah, it was a
bad. What was
contest
it?
type thing.
What was it? Jameis and Peter David or
Yeah,
something
Peter
like
David,
that?
Yep.
Peter David and Bill Jemas, yeah, had a bet over something, and
Like which one's gonna sell the least or something?
yeah,
like that?
between that and Pill and Peter David's Captain Marvel, I think it was
Oh,
when
yeah,
he was
poor
on.
Captain Marvel's fantastic though.
That
guys.
was
I
the
just want you to know
Gen. That was the
I bet
Genis
you
fell.
Peter David
Yeah.
won.
Yeah, Peter David
Yeah.
did win.
Yeah, we all. I mean, nobody really won in this.
No,
Situation.
yeah, nobody won because Captain Marvel still got canceled and Marvel still sucked. And was that supposed to? I can't remember. That was supposed to be Kitty Pryde, wasn't it? But like college age Kitty Pryde and weirdly naked all the time.
Well, those were Greg Horn covers, if
Yeah, I
I'm not
know.
mistaken.
was
Well,
Greg-
that's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
All of a sudden, his characters just have half their clothes removed.
Yes.
It just have. I drew it.
Yeah.
She was fully clothed. I swear.
Love
Let's
it,
get
bud.
back on to Spider-Man because I don't.
Sorry.
I wish I
digging
could
deep.
say I don't know why they're doing this, but Kenneth, if you read Amazing Spider-Man 31, 925, whatever you want to call about it, it's not like they have better ideas going on right now. The comic book sucked.
I'm not reading like current Spider-Man because they don't know what
The
they're doing.
Spider,
In
you
fact, one of
put
my-
Spider-Man. That's all.
not the character, just that guy that's running it. Like one of my recommendations has some of the best Spider-Man in it. It's not even a Spider-Man book. I'll show you after the show. But it's by
Fake
Peter
Red?
David. Huh?
Fake Red.
No. I saw your video. Fake Red. That was interesting. I like Fake Red
Yeah, it was good.
because that story it plays on the idea of responsibility and something. It's sort of like a play on Kick-Ass. You got a guy who finds Spider-Man's costume. He doesn't have training or powers, but by the situation, that particular situation he's in, that's what helps him decide to be a hero or not. Like, who are we in particular circumstances? What would we measure up to if that happens? That, and I read that story. That was very intriguing.
Well, shit, Doc. I guess it's not like Marvel doing anything better with Spider-Man anyway, so might as well do Spider-Man Reign if you're just going to do this Spider-Man
Shitty
31
Spider-Man. Yeah, I mean, if you're only going to give us shitty Spider-Man anyway, then fuck it, why not?
Let's replay all the classics.
Yeah. There's a why don't they just bring back Ezekiel too? Fuck it. We need another Spider-Verse. Let's do more Spider-Verse.
Wait, hasn't Ezekiel been around lately? I can't
Not
remember,
lately, no.
but I know I've seen him recently. Maybe it was one of those Spider Bagley books or something like that.
Yeah.
just
But fuck it,
highlight-
who cares?
I just want to highlight Wes's comment for Spider-Man Reign. Like, why are we doing this? But aren't we saying why are we doing this to like 90% of the comics coming out these days?
Oh yeah.
This
No,
one
that's what you
feels
say
especially
after buying
egregious.
them.
It's like when you talk about the Mount Rushmore of hated Spider-Man stories, it's right up there.
Well, the
with
problem
One More
is
Day and
you-
since past.
And the problem is, you say that, and when they announce it, they want you to think of One More Day as well. And why are they, pretty much going out there with this? Hey, everybody, you remember that thing we hated? Well, we're going to do it again. It just doesn't make sense.
Rage,
just
Marvel.
But
normal
that's
deal.
see,
Yeah, that's what
what
it seems. They're so desperate, right?
But that's what one of the reasons people got so excited with Nick Spencer's one, because it's like he was on a track to undo One More Day, and people were sticking to that story. At least I was. And then you come up with, you do what he did. I'm like, you all that for that? Really?
Yeah. One of my things with the Nick Spencer run, it was going on and on and on. And then when you actually thought, okay, he's going to retcon One More Day, you actually like, well, at least then the 80 issues are worth something, going through all that. And then it didn't happen. So a lot of people were upset.
Since past seemed like a consolation prize.
It was okay.
And
But I don't know, Jim, you read ASM 31, right?
Yes.
We got the big promo that Pittsburgh has been wiped off the map. Everyone hates Peter Parker. What did he do? MJ left him. Aunt May won't talk to him, and there was like all this hullabaloo.
Mhm.
And we have it all paid off, and they teased this wedding that was going to happen early on, and the wedding issue happened now, and they haven't satisfactorily paid off anything.
No, and you had said it a long bit, as well as everybody else, that mystery box deal. Well, at the end, you got to at least solve the mystery. I mean, you led people along. And as a shout out, it was York, PA that he ended up falling in. And if you've been to York, you kind of wish that it did get wiped off the face of the earth, but still.
Is that where we get the peppermint patties?
No, it's what you get is usually like meth and maybe fentanyl. Might be
Not
there.
like Hershey, Pennsylvania, where you get the treat?
No, it's not. And I ended up where I was in York twice, and the thing you do in York is get the hell out of York. But the whole play of it is, though, it just didn't pay off, like you said. And then when you get issues that end up, oh, here's a joke here, and it gets more and more infuriating. And I'm going to say, like, I've seen Yule. He's been kind of positive about it's the idea of it building up and building up. It's just frustration that builds. It's not just one issue that maybe some people will say it is, but it's just the combo of everything combined. And then you just start getting angry at every little thing. I saw people getting really upset when Peter goes to reveal his identity and says, I usually save this for, kids with incurable diseases. And you're like, that's not a great line there. And then it adds to everything else that you're mad at. And it just, it really snowballs.
Well, I had to read a comic book issue where Peter Parker said his relationship with Mary Jane was like that of his sister.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to build up the Black Cat relationship. Yeah. And then they just break up for no reason. It's like, he had to say that he banged someone that he considered a sister so you could get to this?
It's Luke Skywalker. I just think he was trying to get laid in the moment, but still.
Well, I mean, there was. I said back then it felt like a rationalization line. Like, I'm trying to convince you and myself at the same time that I'm over Mary Jane, or that there's nothing I can do about it, so I might as well say this. But now we get to this point, and we had storylines where Black Cat wasn't even involved barely. And now they get to this situation, and I guess we're spoiling stuff. It sounds to me, Jim, though, the thing you don't like even more than like maybe the stories is the length of issues that we have to
Yeah.
get to the stories. And then especially when they don't pay off, it's bad. But even if they don't pay off, it's like, I was talking to a customer yesterday about this. It feels like we don't, these come out 2 times a month,
Mhm.
and it feels like it just takes it takes more issues than time to get through a concept, and it just
Yep.
it really is starting to grate on, I think, a lot of people. Probably the reason why I am enjoying more than I really probably would Ryan North comics, because they're like one-shot stories. Jed McKay does that for the most part. 1 and 2 issue stories. Williamson's kind of like that, unless he's doing an event. These are guys, Adams. He's doing that also. Like, you can just read an issue, stop, pick up another one later on, and still understand what's going on. Because and you can't do that with Spider-Man. You can't do that with a lot of other books.
Yeah, I agree. And that really goes to the idea of what people, just your personal preferences. And I'm not somebody who likes to go through a slow burn story for 10 issues. This is why, like, I admit Ram V is a good writer. He's just not for me. The problem I have with Zeb Wells is it's not as clever as that. So when you end up wasting that, it feels like wasting the time, but that slow burn, when it doesn't pay off, like you said, then it gets you even more and more frustrated, especially with things in the middle of it like Dark Web, which I didn't enjoy. You end up having a lot of things thrown in there. And then on top of that, having stuff that really seems to be poking at fans of the character. It's just like it's a goulash of bullcrap. It really feels like, everybody's frustrated at this point, and Marvel seems to want to like play that up, and seems to want, like, almost like you said with you and Fatal J, the idea of like, hey, let's get like a wrestling thing going here, but you don't do that with your fans if you're a company, and it feels like that. Even that announcement feels like it's a dig at people, and it just feels weird.
And I'm going to say some positive things about Amazing Spider-Man 31. I felt like even though it went on a little too long, the whole bachelorette party, I really did like the Peter Parker, Randy Robertson conversation stuff that was going on. This, to me, that's the best part of that story, was the reveal of that. And but the second half with the Black Cat, it was kind of like, eh. And I know Lane is out there really upset about it. And anybody that knows that I'm not an MJ guy doesn't mean I'm a Black Cat guy necessarily either. I just feel like they had more time together for real.
You're a Gwen Stacy guy, right?
Yeah, probably so. So when I was a kid growing up, we had Marvel Tales coming up, so you got to read the reprints of the old books. You got the little kangaroo paperbacks, and I read those. You had treasury editions that would collect stuff, and even though we think that the 80s bore us the graphic novel or the trade paperbacks, they were coming out in the 70s also. So I got a lot more stories given to me, maybe not when they were first coming out, but still fairly timely to the series, because he wasn't married to MJ. He was always hitting on Deborah Whitman or some other chick, at the laundromat. And, that's kind of like my Peter Parker, other than all the other stuff that went before it. But I thought it's like a narrative of a story, not a superhero story. I thought ASM 31 was not bad, but when you got to all the other stuff and like tonally, it just didn't fit the first part. Man. I didn't like any of it. It really hurt it, I thought.
And it's funny, Zeb Wells, a lot of people, even the people who hate his run a lot, say, why doesn't he just do more of the Tombstone stuff? When he's doing stuff like that, it actually is a lot better. It is. Yeah. But this whole other stuff that he mixes in just really has soured most people of it. And the thing about, Gwen Stacy versus MJ, things like that, there's always going to be that argument, obviously. But when you start to promise things, or you start to make it seem like, okay, we're going to do it, and then you pull it back, it's just going to get people more and more angry. It's simple that way, that people are going to get pissed off. And they seem to think that, this is that like sexual tension type thing or some weird thing that this is their marketing plan, and it just gets infuriating.
It's like a will they, won't they thing.
Yeah.
Or how are they never going to do thing.
But it works in Moonlighting back in the day, but it doesn't
Sure.
really work with MJ and Peter because you just
Not
want them
anymore.
together.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
If you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah.
If you're not, don't.
Then don't.
When I was like bitching about everybody liking the Lifetime story of MJ and Peter Parker, and I was joking saying that they should just go to California, do the Hollywood thing. He could be a paparazzi or something, and don't do any Spider-Man stories, but just kind of have like a true romance type thing going on with them. And then maybe a year in, he has to don the costume. Yeah. The more I think of that, the more different and more exciting to Marvel and Spider-Man or Peter Parker. That would be like fantastic. I really could see a nice little, sometimes it could be a funny romance thing. Sometimes, like the old 50s and 60s comics. And then eventually you could move it into the Marvel U. Peter Parker and Mary Jane in Hollywood. That'd be the way to go.
I think the worst thing about this, I had to go read the Tom Revort newsletter that he did. He's like, if you think that there's been material changes to the story that Zeb Wells lined out for us when he pitched Spider-Man, nope, this is exactly everything he said he was going to do and that we thought would be a good thing for Spider-Man. You're like, if you thought this was going to be good, fun Spider-Man, then what the hell are you doing there?
Yeah, it's like he's trying to back away from any sort of responsibility, but the responsibility's all on him for originally reading that and thinking it's good. It just, and I'm sure that Zeb Wells went and said, "Here's my pitch. I'm gonna kill Kamala Khan." Oh, that sounds good.
I don't think
there's
that
no
was
way.
I think
Yeah,
that was
there's no way.
later.
But again, that whole play of, hey, I'm gonna end up the Peter blows up York or here that. Everything got extended as well because of all that other bull crap in there. So they're all full of crap.
I don't believe them that was the original plan.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't care what they say because this is an editorial that takes pride in ignoring the wants and desires of the readership and enjoys trolling them. So recognize them admitting that fans laughing at them and pointing out that this was a stupid idea. And it seems very, very, very obvious that they backtracked and toned way down on what they were originally planning. That what did Peter do? It seems very, very clear that was toned way down. Who in the hell is yelling in the background?
I'm sorry, that's my family in the background. Sorry.
I think Kenneth is on a Skype.
I was just like, who is here?
I was literally in the process of doing a private chat to be like, who's got background noise going on? It's so distracting.
I actually muted my mic so everybody knew it wasn't my wife yelling at me.
But we all know that when your wife yells at you on stream, she does with a look.
That is true.
While holding a frying pan.
The frying pan and then
Sorry.
the finger across the neck.
Yep. But no, we all know that they completely rewrote what the original plan was.
Yeah.
This wasn't even anything approaching what their original plan was. They just will never admit that publicly because it was actually affecting sales. And people were dropping off because they're like, this is fucking stupid. It's been dragged out for way too long. They don't even bother to keep it as a subplot.
No.
And we're tired of it and nobody gives a shit. And then the fact that it went off with a whimper, that all of us were just sitting there going, okay, so the big thing was that everybody hates Peter because he
did the right thing.
He did the
Dude,
right
it sucked. It was like, God, I expected, I don't know, like he ruined everybody's breakfast that day.
Yeah.
Could have been better.
It's like, oh no,
your Cheerios, everybody.
The pancakes were still wet inside because they were fat, but they didn't spread out the way that normally they should of.
How do you
And-
fuck up Toll House cookies?
Yeah, exactly. like he accidentally gave them oatmeal raisin instead of
Oh,
chocolate
that's it.
chip.
Don't you know I'm allergic to peanuts?
Exactly.
But well, hey, oatmeal raisin whenever they look
Whatever.
like
I'm
chocolate
just
chip.
joking.
That's the reason I have trust issues. But no, we all know that this was backtracked on, and they will just never admit it because it would mean if enough people actually stop reading Spider-Man, they will course correct.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen totally that way. And there are some good things. Again, the gang war thing that's going to be going on starts in this issue. And that was quite good for like 3 or 4 pages. You know,
I was gonna say but that's part of the problem though. We keep getting things that are quite good for 3 or 4 pages or 3 or 4 issues, and then they completely fall apart. Like that, but that's why
I think the Tombstone stuff is actually the best of, like, that's what Zeb Wells cares about, Josh, is what I'm thinking.
Seems
Yeah.
to fit his
So you-
But
tone.
like
that's
John
what
said,
I'm
you should do more of that.
Well,
Maybe
yeah.
consistent run
Yeah,
that's what
of
they're trying to
Spider-Man
do.
fighting his villains, Tombstone, or when he does Spider-Man and Doc Ock. Those issues are really good.
Those were good, yeah.
But it's like
Maybe he's just trying to get rid of all the characters that everybody gets all
Likes?
upset about.
It's weird.
And likes.
Let's hear it for the peoples. We got
Sorry,
a
Josh.
plenty of super
You're
chats.
okay.
Mythogenesis Studios Comics says, with Godzilla versus JLA, the new Transformers series, JMS's Cap, Sean Gordon Murphy Zorro series, October might be a good month for comics.
Zorro's
All right,
kick-started, right?
Which one of these moved the needle for you?
Well, obviously not the Zorro series because it's a crowdfunder. I'm starting to
You're coming on
change
board
my
for Transformers,
tune.
aren't you?
I'm starting to change my tune, yes. I don't think it's going to be my number one bestseller, but I think I could
It's in the top
push it.
25. That's good.
I'm just talking about my store now. I really think I can get people that wouldn't normally buy a Transformers book to pick up the first issue. I'm not worried about that at all. If it's going to keep going on, I think overall we're looking at hopefully the JMS Cap series. I'm hoping that all the superhero fans will read it, and then the JMS fans will read it. And, you know, we're talking about over 45 or 50-year-olds.
They got money.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Cap could be the book for my store, and probably overall since it's Marvel.
Probably check out Godzilla versus JLA. It looks like it'll be fun.
Sure.
Wrong with that.
What do you think is better, Godzilla JLA or Wolverine Predator? That's my question.
Wolverine
See,
Predator.
the Wolverine Predators from Ben Percy, and I liked his beginning of his Wolverine, but it just kind of just petered out and died on me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't want to read that guy's take on Wolverine anymore. It's not very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
So,
found with Ben
Godzilla.
Percy, like I don't know. For me, the first thing I ever read with Ben Percy was all the way back to New 52, and he did a 2-story arc in Detective Comics, which was excellent. And then he's never even gotten close to that level of quality again. Like not
I
even.
thought he
close.
had some decent stuff in Nightwing there for a minute.
I thought it was
It got
okay, but
wacky.
that 2-issue arc, that 2-issue story he did was like top tier. I remember when it came out, like all of us at Batman News were like, "This is one of the top stories of the year." And then just nothing has come close. So,
Yeah.
who's doing Godzilla versus JLA?
I can't remember the guy's name, but it's not a major name.
Okay, not excited.
Brian Buccellato, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Tell me.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah.
Colorist extraordinaire, colorist and writer.
Jose 2 Beast, good morning from Cali. My 2-year-old is my bane on weekends, waking up early, but I look forward to this weekend's aficionados. Thank you, guys. Well, I hope you and the 2-year-old are having fun, and I apologize for anything Doc said.
Oh, and our
I hope he
podcast.
doesn't mean
Hopefully
that
you got
he's
the headphones on.
breaking his back.
Absolutely.
2 years old,
Wow.
too young to understand what me saying.
I don't know. My 2-year-old's starting to imitate what I say, and he's kicking me in the ball still. It's a wonderful life. He's getting better at it. Caleb says Parker is better off being single for life.
That's right.
He's a player.
Why don't you want him to be happy, Yule?
I'm single for life. Why shouldn't he be? I'm Peter Parker all the way, man. Yeah.
When I
Just
told
no-
my younger brother that I was engaged for the first time, he said, "It's about time. It wasn't fair that I had to be married and you weren't."
Had
And I
to be
thought,
married.
do I want to be married? This doesn't sound like an endorsement. It feels like a sentence.
Jim doesn't make it sound so great either. Kids sound even worse.
It's not. I'll tell you right now, it's not. It's not
Look,
great.
I'll speak from both sides. After a 13-year relationship, I'll go and say I'm much happier now.
Man, my wife is absolutely amazing.
Hey, I'm in a very, very long
I've
and
never been
committed
happier in my life.
relationship. I'm just not into the whole,
Here's the thing: you're likely common law married anyway, and you didn't know it.
I gotta sign
Yeah.
papers to make it happen. I've looked into it.
I consider you.
Well,
common
the
law.
reason why is because I like to say that my brother-in-law is my common law brother-in-law, but he's not really. But it's a great line, I think.
Galvin says, "Why does Kerry Andrews do this to himself? Might be editorial's fault. Andrews is better off making other heroes better, like Connor Young or Sam Alexander." I imagine they offered him some pretty decent money. I imagine that's what it was. He's much
It
better off
was.
doing erratic as far as quality of the story.
Yeah.
It's
That
his
and-
sequel.
Yeah. Well, that's true too. It is a sequel. I was gonna say too. I feel like with the big two, they keep trying to remake stories that were good stories, thinking that they can do them better, and they fail miserably. And I think they failed enough times now that they're like, you know what, we should take those really shitty stories, and we're gonna make them better.
Worse.
Now,
Yeah.
when they fail this time, it's gonna be embarrassing for them.
I don't know. When we were talking about the idea of, Spider-Man and that big, the big thing with Kamala and stuff like that, personally, and on the YouTube and even everywhere else, I did see a lot of people, and it was hate reading. A lot of people, there was a lot of buzz about it, people pissed off. And then once it happened, it did kind of die out then. And I think they're just going with that. I think they're just going with the idea that people get all riled up. They'll get on Twitter, they'll get on social media, and that's their, advertising, and they're hoping it'll just keep going.
Hate bias can only take you so far.
I know.
Callum
And
says that Blue Beetle director is a complete fool or a complete tool. Yes, and he looks like what was the rapper personality of that comedian guy that did
Ali G.
Ali
Ali
G?
G.
He looks like
Oh, yeah.
Ali G, but I don't think he's trying to be ironic.
No, he's not. Where
Do
did
you know
bad...
this guy, Josh? You were in Hollywood. Is he? Cool?
I don't know this guy. I just some of the interviews I've seen, I'm just like, dude, shut up. In general with Hollywood right now, people just need to stop talking. Like, people are harming their brands more than the brands themselves.
Well, they're not working. So just like artists in comics, if you're not working, you're saying something you shouldn't be, probably.
I mean, probably.
Dr. Mike, MJ is hateable.
Yeah. Hateable.
I mean, if we're talking about Kirsten Dunst, sure. Like, I can't stand.
Wow.
How dare you?
That's mean. I
Sorry.
totally
Kirsten Dunst
disagree.
was a pretty lady. She was a perfect MJ.
I don't know about that.
Agreed.
I don't want to hear what Doc has to
Agreed.
say. Calvin says, better yet, Kerry Andrews should write the new Aranya series. The unlimited web one I read by Stephanie Williams sucks. It's so bad and wasted potential.
It's
Yeah,
a
well-
Stephanie.
I was about to say the problem there is Stephanie.
No, the problem is it's Aranya. No one cares about the character, so it's a digital comic book. They're not going to pay somebody like Kerry Andrews that probably costs a little bit of money to make it. You got to do a generic Stephanie, like a Stephanie Williams.
Or any other Stephanie.
Into the other
Oh.
Stephanies, but hey, Kerry Andrews on a 4-issue Aranya miniseries, probably not the worst idea in the history of the world. If you wanted to get the character over and have some good art on it. Ryan Wilson says Zeb Wells has written about 50 issues of Spider-Man so far. Nothing really happened. Compare that to 50 issues of other runs and look at all that happened.
I'd say 50 issues pre-2000, not post-2000.
Yeah, it's just the pacing really sucks in comic books, Yule.
Yeah, it. When we get to the best of the week, I'm gonna kind of show you the best example of the old style and the new style meeting together and not feeling like you're wasting as much money or time.
That's why everyone keeps telling me James Tynan's great. I was like, I know exactly how a James Tynan book is going to go, and it's going to take me a year to get anywhere anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know how to write a fucking story anymore.
Nope. And even then, he writes around the interesting stuff. Like, he'll reference it, but you never actually deal with it. And then later, it's just like, oh, this happened. Can't stand the guy.
I-
Can't stand his writing.
I'm
Sorry.
just sick of
Me neither.
all of nothing ever happens. It needs the writing for the omnibus bullshit needs to fucking end.
Or just write omnibuses and don't release them as periodicals.
Yep, agreed.
What if
That's how you
you knew that like your favorite creators were going to be doing Spider-Man? You're going to get it like in 2 years, and it's going to be an omnibus for $150.
Well, honestly,
Are you down?
Like if you
I would have.
go ahead.
Well, I
OGN.
would have already lost interest by the time it comes out. This is the problem with any sort of periodical that is not monthly. You break the habit of buying it. Comics are basically entertainment as a subscription model. If your subscription stops giving you shit for a while and you only pay it once every 3 years, you decide, you know what? I don't need it.
If you
I
were
don't need it.
You're doing Spider-Man 1 week, and then X-Men, and then this, and then that. So at least there's reasons to come in, right?
I'm
Is there,
gonna.
though?
That's the problem.
I don't know.
Go
I want to go
ahead.
back to Yoel's comment about like wait 2 years to get an omnibus. If you were telling me I were getting someone fresh on a character in a book, and it's someone that I liked, so say we got Pete Tomasi and Dan Mora, and it was announced they were going to do a Spider-Man book, and it was going to be an omnibus that came out in 2 years, I would be hyped. And as long as they didn't tease stuff every freaking day for those next 2 years, if they just kind of kept it quiet, throw something out like once every few months, like, oh, here's a page. When that book came out, I would be so hyped. I'd be so ready
What
to
if
go
they
buy
did
that
it
book.
the
and read it.
Alex Ross Fantastic Four style, where they didn't even tell anybody? It just came out, and you're like, "Oh my goodness,
That
it's the
too.
best Fantastic
Yeah.
Four story in 20 years."
And well, here's the other thing. The problem with that model is very simple. No one that doesn't read comics now starts reading comics because nobody tries out
I
a
don't know, that's what
story
they're
at
doing with
100.
manga. What are you talking about?
Nobody tries. Yes, because manga isn't $120 or $100.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. You
Well,
release
I
it.
mean,
You-
maybe
you
I
need
went a
to
little
do it.
far with the omnibus.
But if you're doing a big thing and you're charging more than $7-8, sorry, you don't get new customers in this market for that. You just
I
don't.
had a woman come in the store, bought a Turtles comic for her kid, and the total was like $5, $5.50 because it was an annual. And she said, "Oh, it will only cost that."
Yes,
I was like, "Wow, this is great to hear that."
I mean,
They
hey,
gave you a
yeah.
card.
If we continue with the current rate of inflation in this fucking country, and we're getting our $19 loaf of bread, I guess a $4 comic book, $5 comic book doesn't seem so fucking bad.
Yeah.
But
All right.
but
Copies are
otherwise,
more. Yeah.
nobody nobody's buying, nobody's starting. I mean, okay, you get one lady, great. Does she ever come in again?
There's ways around that, Doc. I think you're absolutely wrong on that one, but that's fine. Tommy Review says, I live in PA and agree York is awful.
It's
Do
awful.
you think comics would be better off quarterly instead of monthly like Eric July and EVS have been doing?
No.
Wait a second.
No.
Hold on.
They quarter-
Unless we're calling unless we're doing quarterly as in like quarter
Every 4
decade,
years.
quarter decade. Ethan is not quarterly. I'm sorry.
Hey, remember when Frank Quitely couldn't finish the new X-Men, and then you heard that Ethan Van Sciver was going to be on that book? Did you laugh?
Yes.
I also
because-
remember when Frank Quitely couldn't finish Authority, and I heard Art Adams was going to be on that book. Did you laugh?
Yep. Well, that was
All right.
partly, but that had a lot to do with a couple other things. Mostly that Frank had already signed his Marvel deal, and that was around the time that not Didio, Paul Levitz was fucking with Mark Miller, and the reason why Mark Miller has never worked at DC again.
Okay.
Well, he is going
as
to
far as
soon.
the question in hand here,
Yeah.
if they're going to write stories in a format that's more commensurate for a trade paperback, I think it would be more successful because that's how you should be reading it to begin with.
Yep.
And I do think if they had a model like the Shonen Jump app, like they do obviously for manga, that you can bring people in at a really good price, and then more people will go and buy the physical product. But you would have to, it would take years of infrastructure to actually make that work.
Yeah, and there's ways around, like if you, like Wes is talking about, I think this could work if you almost have it like a trade kind of design style.
Yep.
Where it's, you know, equivalent to like 4 to 6 issues for a story. And the way you can make it work quarterly and not have delays is kind of take that Tom King method that he had with Batman. You've got an artist for each arc. But you'd need to get that writer to get a jump start and get a good jump start on the stories too for the artist. But yeah, that could work. But if you're talking about single issues
for Common America too.
Yeah. If you're talking about single issues, quarterly would never work. We've seen that even when you take a month hiatus or break, people start losing interest too fast. But if you can give them a full, complete story, absolutely.
It's a habit. It's a habit-based market. You give them time to break the habit, they will. It's inevitable. It's why reboots always settle at a lower average.
Yep.
Doc, you got to get your mind around, like, the direct market isn't the only place that comic books are selling. In fact, they're selling more in bookstores.
I get it, except for not American comics.
Well, it's because American comics suck right now, for the most part.
Okay, and
they haven't adapted the manga model where you have the really cheap entry point with your phone or tablet with the $3 a month subscription fee.
And if they didn't have millions selling books in Asia, they could not sell it at the price point that they're selling it for in America.
They didn't have a million when they started. You got to start somewhere. That's why I said you would need years of infrastructure change to change how the culture and the production process works in American comic books.
You need mass adoption. That's what it comes down to.
And it's not like Dogman comes out monthly. It comes out whenever the next volume's ready.
Yeah,
and they sell more Dogman than they sell Batman.
Understandable. And except for it's sold through to a captive audience of children.
Yeah, and they like rudimentary drawings also.
They do.
Yeah, but that's also the next generation of comic book readers.
Yeah, that's the scary thing. Yeah,
possibly. Yeah, the
scary thing. Have you read a Dogman comic, Jim?
Yes, I have.
It's actually pretty good. The stories actually make sense.
My kids used to really love like Captain Underpants and stuff like that. They couldn't wait to get the next one, and they're pretty good.
Have they moved over to Batman now?
No, because
he likes Batman.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my one son, I'm in the Philadelphia area. The kid's down there, yelling and screaming today about how great the Cleveland Browns are. He'll never learn. It's always against me. But yeah, but still,
I wore this for you, Jim.
Nice, thank you. Thanks a lot. But yeah, that's just the deal and a joke, but whatever. But there are people, but the problem, like Wes said, is when you end up going from that one to the next, these kids aren't going to get their Dogman in the comic store, so they need those different ways of doing the stuff, and a lot like digital.
Yeah. Also,
Ryan Wilson.
I was just going to point out there's a thing with parents too that it's really weird. And my mom works in education. She works for elementary school. She's been in administration for 30 something years at this point. But there are parents that actively will be like, yeah, let's get our kids a book, and they'll get a book like Captain Underpants or Dogman. They don't view it as a comic book. But then they'll look at a comic book and go, that's a comic book.
Yes.
As if reading wise, it's on a much lower level. It's a really weird thing. Like they're literally the same things.
When I was that age, if they had now granted they didn't have much in the line of like traditional comic book available through like Scholastic, but even then, Calvin and Hobbes, okay.
Yeah.
Anything that was approaching a like serious comic book, like an actual comic book, no, it still has that stigma.
All right, let's see what Ryan Wilson has to say. Superman Annual Annual 1 was great this week. Almost a perfect Superman comic. These last 2 pages set up something crazy, upcoming stories. I'm really hyped for them. I didn't think it was that good, Jim, but I thought it was good.
It was okay. It's better than Night Terrors. The thing, and me and you, as an aside, we might be talking about this later, but the idea of it is I think there might have been too much going on to actually think that all that stuff will pay off. But it was good.
It was good.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Quite enjoyed it. We might be talking about that one on Best of the Week.
Exactly.
Tavia says, why can't Marvel just copy Across the Spider-Verse movie with Peter having his daughter Mayday Parker within the main comics and stop doing bad ideas? Mayday never existed.
Well, also we're bitching about there being 3 or 4 Hellfire Galas and the continuity not working out. How are you going to get an 18-year-old, 20-year-old lady into this universe when you got to keep Reed Richards young too?
Oh, you're one of those people?
No, I'm just saying that's how
Batman
it is.
can't be married because it makes him old?
No,
I'm married. Are you trying to
You
call
can-
me old? Is that what you're trying to
yes.
say about me, old?
Batman
I
needs
have
a
3
haircut.
children now. Does that mean
Batman
I'm
needs a
ancient?
haircut, is what I'm saying.
His wife said he looks like a teenager. So stop. That's what you do. You just have Batman shave a little and do a little
Exactly.
hair, right? Teenager.
I mean, it doesn't help Jim any. You know,
No, it
You
doesn't.
can't
Not
have
at all.
Mayday Parker because they killed her off and wiped her out of existence.
she doesn't exist. That
They would have
crap
to admit they
is
made a mistake
what
and undo
if
it.
is what that is. In fact, what was that series called? The imprint doc. That
Doc's gone.
Wild Thing came. He's not here. It was called like the M2 universe or something like that. It doesn't exist. It stopped with Mayday.
Eric O'Sullivan, how about that Spider-Man annual 2023? Yikes. It was worse than the
I won't read that.
331, and I didn't, or Spider-Man 31, Jim, and I didn't like that one.
Yeah, it wasn't good. And people are getting confused because some people are like, oh my God, why isn't Seb Wells on the Spider-Man annual? And then we just had
'Cause
the
it's an
Amazing
annual.
Spider-Man annual, and we ended up having all that stuff all thrown in together. So
Yeah.
I think people are starting to get
I'm
a little
sorry you
confused
wasted
with
your
things.
money, Eric.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have got that one. Jamal Lewis, for the panel, what was the last seminal storyline for DC and Marvel? This one's easy. For Marvel, to me, it's House of X, Powers of 10.
Agreed.
Although the payoff, obviously, afterwards was not very good. For DC, it's a little bit tougher. I would almost say Batman White Knight, but that's not really in continuity. Like last seminal one,
Forever Evil, maybe.
I was going to go
Good.
Blackest Night.
Blackest Night's the one we always go to. But
I
I
know.
thought Forever Evil was pretty good.
But I mean, I liked Rebirth a lot, but we didn't get the payoff, that big payoff
Yeah.
with Doomsday Clock because they kind of abandoned some of the
Exactly.
aspects of it.
I mean,
Well, I was
Rebirth
even-
Special #1 was pretty big, but that's just one issue.
Yeah,
I was
maybe.
even going to say Dark Side War was a really good story,
Yeah.
but that's also what pretty much ended the New 52, so it didn't go
Mhm.
anywhere either. It's one of those
No.
things that it's like,
And that was another one that was delayed for a bit at that point, too.
It doesn't have to be continuity. It could just be a storyline. That
Well, then I would say Batman White Knight. I think that one's almost
I
perfect
mean, you
beginning
could,
to the end.
yeah.
And West,
Batman,
what,
Cordial
but
stuff,
it's not
maybe.
changing anything. It's just
You
reversing.
said it didn't have to
role-
be in continuity.
I'm saying it didn't change anything.
You did say
It
that.
still
Of course,
reads
'cause
left
it's
to
not
right.
continuity.
It still is Batman. It's still the
Staples.
Joker.
Oh no,
It's-
they completely change everything.
The
You-
Cordial
Oh,
story
Joker's a
was pretty
diplomat
big.
when he kills Robin. Oh, now Joker's a
yeah.
mayor and he's killing Batman. You know,
Oh,
it's just like it's seen it
What do you say,
before.
Kenneth? You had a good idea.
Well, Semla, I agree with you. Batman White Knight. That's in one of the super chats before. They were listening to some of the stories, and I'm interested what he's doing with the Zorro.
Zorro, yeah.
Because Zorro is like the inspiration for Batman. So I'm very interested what Sean Gordon Murphy can do with that story. Sean Gordon Murphy should be in that Batman office writing Batman continuity because what he's done with that series is amazing. It looks like he's going to expand his White Knight universe by adding in the Justice League. If you read the end of Batman Beyond the White Knight, so that I'm very interested in. So yeah.
I would love to see Sean Murphy doing more, especially in continuity. It's not going to happen.
No.
There's a lot of tension between
Yep.
editorial and him because he has enough self-worth to say like, no, I'm not fucking doing that. Like,
Yeah.
fuck off.
And when he ended up when the White Knight stuff, he actually like listed a bunch of rules for his
Yeah.
universe, and half of them seemed to be digging into the editorial and other writers at DC. Even.
And I know that he actually has a full universe that he wants to pitch, or he did pitch and plan, and it was like interest was there, and then like no conversation for well over a year. So who knows what they're doing? DC just needs to get their shit together.
And Marvel.
Eric O'Sullivan. Oh yeah, and ASM 31 had 14 variant covers. On top of that, $9.99 cover price. Half of that issue were previews for other upcoming titles. Sheesh. And then half of the real story was just shenanigans. It wasn't even. It was like 20 pages of Bachelor Party. I couldn't believe it. That was rough, man. You know, I don't envy you trying to sell that to somebody, or when they come back, like them being mad at you.
Nobody's mad at me. They just buy their comics.
You mean to tell me that
didn't
Kamala
tell
Khan, X-Men suit cover wasn't like a hot seller? It wasn't flying off the shelves for Amazing Spider-Man 31?
Dude, that was the dog shit cover I've ever seen. She looked like a man, okay? And nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying.
Man, baby.
She had like that is I've
She was
never
handsome.
seen someone. She wasn't handsome. B. Arthur's handsome, okay?
Hi, my name's Kamala Khan.
That was horrible.
They call me Miss Marvel.
Like, I like those negative
Hello,
covers
boys.
that dude does. It was horrible. And, you know, bullshit to the 14 variant covers. A lot of those are incentives, and not every store has them. So if you go to a store that has them, you know you're going to a behemoth.
Jose B
Why do we even
says
say
Night
the
Terror
variant
ruined. What? Sorry, there's
I'm
a
sorry,
little,
but like, why are
delay.
we still doing variant covers? Like, that's
One
like
way they
an
can sell
off of the
comics.
90s.
Yeah.
Because the thing is like you only have, let's just say you only have 10 people, right? That want to buy something. But you know that some of them are completists. So you're going to get one of everything, but then like these guys right here are going to buy, oh, that's a pretty awesome Black Cat cover regardless of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'll get that one. And I'm a big Kamala Khan and a JTC fan, so I'll get that. Or maybe it's Star Wars and it's an action figure cover. You know,
I love the
and-
idea when they're doing
Now-
that, and then they buy 3 of 4, and then they're like, screw it, I'll buy the 4th just because it's there.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah, it can happen. I mean, I have customers that buy one of every cover, but they have like a thing they're doing. They're crazy.
Everyone can collect the
Chipley's doing the
how they
cover
want
and
to.
Jason Fabbox doing the cover. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I'll get both of those.
Yeah.
Especially those. Yeah, I see. What
They
you're saying.
need to sell the same comic book to people multiple times. It's the only way
Yeah.
things are working. Jose to B says Night Terrors ruined DC sales and fan interest. Is that true, Yule?
I bet it did hurt the sales. I mean, I'm not
Sounded like-
selling.
Batman did okay. It sounded like First Blood did okay, and
Uh-huh.
the issue number 1 did all right, but everything else kind of just died.
The series is doing well in my store, but again, I don't over order it. And then there's a few of the other things, and then I sell out of like Joker because I didn't order a ton of them, and Harley Quinn.
you.
So I'm not really taking a bath. But when you look at, like, let's just say I only have 1 or 2. Let's just say 2 left over. That doesn't sound bad. I ordered 10, 15, 20 of a comic, and I only have 2 left over. But it's basically like the new 52 in 2 months. So it's like 102 twos, you know?
Yeah.
You got 200 books at the end of 2 months. And unlike Wonder Woman 1, 2, 3, come issue 8, 9, 10, nobody is looking. They might not be for Wonder Woman either, but nobody is looking for Night Terrors books later on down the line. So I have 200 comic books that I can't do anything with, and I did good selling those, and it's still 200 books left over. I can't imagine that sales are that great.
No.
Well, I think too the more damaging thing is it completely derailed Dawn of DC,
Mhm.
which had a solid start. Like people were actually getting back in to pick up, these runs. And
Those
you got-
books are going to still be good coming forward. If you thought it was good before, it's still going to be good. I
No,
promise you.
Agreed, but it's
We
going
gotta
back to what we
excite
discussed
them.
earlier. You give people a reason not to buy, and they're going to
Mhm.
back out. So whatever momentum you built, it's going to drop.
Yeah.
Well, if
Yeah.
you're coming into the comic store, go ahead, Don. I'm done.
Well, no, I mean, look, I am firmly of the belief that the direct market, which is still what props up 99% of the Western comic industry, is dependent upon essentially a subscription model and habits. You break those habits,
Yeah.
even the people that come back buy less. Now they may rebuild And a year or 3 down the line, they come back and they're only reading 2 or 3 books, and then maybe they build how many books they're reading, and all of a sudden 4 years from now they're reading 40 books. Again, but you already had them reading 40 books. It took you 4 years to fix what you fucked up in 6 months.
Yeah, there was a lot of good buzz. And the thing that they should have done, if you look at it now, they should have just held off on the Dawn of DC and hit it hard in September after this event so that people could be excited. But on a side note, what I'm kind of worried about is the idea of, even with the people, maybe they're not going to go back to, say, a Green Lantern or whatnot, but some of these books that are coming out in September, Power Girl, Fire and Ice, I mean, we're going to continue stuff like, they might not be that good. And then people will be like, oh my God, this Dawn of DC, and they're going to get this weird idea when before Night Terrors, most of the books were hitting pretty good. You had a majority of the books really, really good to get that oomph going into September, where you then, have these side books and things like that. But I still think people will be buying that Tom King Wonder Woman either way, if they think it's going to be bad to hate read or what. But there are some good things, but there's also some nonsense coming out.
Adam Frey says, ever get the feeling that every story that needed to be told in mainstream comics or Cape Comics was told by 2010, if not earlier?
There is something to be said about 70 years with the same character. Yes. That it does. Yes, I don't disagree that it is harder to not retread. It's very, very hard to not just retread existing, already written stories without fundamentally altering, a character. And I feel like that's probably where a lot of the industry is now. They're not good enough. They're not paid well enough, so they're not creative enough to write those new stories. But
it's weird. Yeah.
And as a result, they have been relegated to fundamentally altering the characters so that they can open up new story possibilities.
That's what I was going to say. The idea that some of these writers, and even if they're okay, but they seem to want to try, like, oh, I got to reinvent the wheel because of all these stories before. And a lot of that means ruining the characters. I mean, it really does. And that sucks.
And in addition to that, I'd even say we've had plenty of good stories since 2010. We've had plenty of plot lines that have come up that are solid storylines that, had they been taken advantage of, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But we've gotten in this trend where if you have something in a comic book, you don't explore the consequences anymore of whatever that story was. It just happens. You move on to whatever the next idea is, and you get like an issue or a couple of pages to be like, oh, so this happened, to move on. Here's this next story. And that's hard to get invested in, my opinion.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I'm worried a bit about that Superman annual, which I did like, but there's so many things thrown into that. And you kind of get that, in the back of your mind now, oh, they're not going to get to that. Like, we're so used to it not panning out.
Callum says, they need more dinosaurs in that Fire and Ice comic book.
He's talking about the Frazetta. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I said Fire and Ice. That was the DC one, but the Frazetta deal, I could see more dinosaurs in that.
Honestly, I think most comic books could do with more dinosaurs.
I agree with that too. In space.
Yeah, maybe with flamethrowers.
Yeah, I was about to say, give me a Velociraptor with a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Like, I mean, I think we need to just we need to accept like the absurdity again, and maybe dive into it a little, maybe even a little too hard.
Are you kidding me? People had a conniption fit when that Thing book came out, Clobber in Time.
Yeah.
They can't handle. Nobody can handle humor.
I'm telling you though, in the Mark Waid Shazam, there's dinosaurs in it, and everybody was talking about the dinosaurs. They weren't talking about anything else. They were all in that dinosaur lawyer. And
wait, was that Thing Clobber in Time book? Was that the one where he was like banging a single mom?
Yeah, he was on
no,
that's
you're talking about. Yeah,
I don't remember which one that is. That's what
I didn't remember which one.
It was like the one shot deal.
Okay,
this one is like team up books with the Thing from Steve Scroce. But I thought that book was good. It was a lot of fun. People got mad at like the first 3 pages of the second issue, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm overblowing it. Yeah. Oh, look at this is the state of comic books these days.
let's talk about IDW in the real state of comic books these days. Yule Carter. They were going to do their creator-owned line. They got out there and got Mark Doyle, the former Batman editor, to go in there. You know, he had a Rolodex of talent that he was going to bring in.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out they might have signed too many contracts. They didn't have the budget for it, so they ended up having to cut at least a handful of them this week. And people were very upset. And Alex DeCampi came to the rescue, Josh. I thought it was amazing. Will Robson got screwed over.
I'm just going to make a comment about how desperately we need to get business people in here running these comic book industries from the operational standpoint. Because the fact that you can't even, like, if you're launching a creator-owned line and you don't even know what your initial budget is, or you're not aware that you overspend on that initial budget before things fully get launched,
Or how
you're
many comics
retarded and you
can
should
publish
not
in a
have your
month.
job. I'm sorry. It's that like you should not be running a company if you cannot do the very basics of running a company. And hey, we have this much money, and we overspent by this much money. Sorry. Like, and we wonder why these publishers are failing. Like it's blatantly black and white. It's right there. Like my 12-year-old niece could probably do a better job because she has a better business mindset.
They probably should have had a schedule, a release schedule saying, ideally, if we can get all these done, this is how we would like to release things. You know, if we can get the production schedule, and these are the amount of openings that we have, and that's how many comic book or creators that we need to hire to fill them.
Yeah, it's a weird play. They ended up, it seemed like they were trying to play catch up because they had, the licensing stuff. And in the article that we had, they're like, okay, well, the streaming stuff, that's big. So we have that, but they're already too late. They're playing this catch up game. Then they went overboard, couldn't afford it. It was a mess.
I mean, and what are they doing? They're just taking stuff that was on Comixology and reprinting it, right? Them and Dark Horse.
Dark Horse.
Yeah.
No, this Dark Spaces stuff was all Scott Snyder's online shit. Maybe his Substack. I don't know.
Does people read that stuff?
Well, it comes out.
Oh.
That's the best I can tell you.
I
mean,
stopped
seriously,
paying attention to Scott Snyder a couple of years ago.
Yeah, when you hear Scott Snyder, I mean, he's the biggest name, him and G. Willow Wilson, of all their creators. And then I saw all the other stuff. I remember a Perch video on it. I was very under-enthused.
Yeah.
I'll have you know, though, the Hunger in the Dusk, the G. Willow Wilson first issue, I did like it a lot. But all the other stuff, I mean, but it was on the internet. I'm not excited about that, you know? It's already been out there.
You don't like internet comic books?
No, I don't like them I like internet comics. They can stay on the internet. I just don't need a hard copy of it.
You're not selling a lot of Barnstormers?
I'm selling the proper amount of Barnstormers.
Okay.
There you go. You know, that's well,
approximately 0.
No, it's a little bit more than that. More than one.
It got an Eisner.
It did. How can a book that's never come out get an Eisner?
No, really, that's
my point. You know, why am I buying a book after it already got an Eisner? That doesn't make sense.
Maybe you can
I
have
sell that shit all the time.
Eisner Award winner.
Eisner Award winner, right on the comic book. Yeah.
Does that mean anything to any customers, Yule?
Some people, I used to, when things were a little bit more hopping and people were not as mainstream driven in my store, if you made an Eisner display and you had a bunch of stuff, it could be very, that would be somebody, oh, look, this is a display of Eisner Award winners. I'll pick up this Persepolis type book or something.
When the Eisners still had any degree of credibility.
I get a lot of people just see award winning, not even know what Eisners are, but see award winning and go with it.
Well, I mean, and how do I describe an Eisner to a normal person that comes in the store? Oh, it's an Oscar for comics, basically. If there was an Oscar award for comics, it would be an Eisner. But now, hopefully, a person doesn't think, well, who gives a fuck about Oscars?
Exactly.
Yes.
I don't care about those either.
Awards. Oh, wait, you mean the thing where you're doing it so that you can promote something that you want people to purchase, and then you're clapping each other on the back for doing a good job.
And
That's an award.
where anything that celebrates Hollywood wins the award given out by Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobel Prizes are the only awards because they don't give them out necessarily.
Science. No, Nobel Science.
No, even writing. They do not necessarily give those out. You
The
know,
AVN
every year
awards are
there's a
still
freaking
good.
Pulitzer. Every year for everything. But they don't give sports writing an award.
Honestly, at this point, the AVNs have more
the
credibility.
AVNs.
The
They're the best.
AVNs. Well, they know what a money shot's all about.
Yes. It has more
Jeez.
credibility than the Eisners or the
Best
Oscars.
pop. Best 5-minute pop. Whatever.
All right, Doc. So we're not going to keep going down that road because that seems like a road to oblivion.
Well, I thought we were
But I
talking
thought
about
it was great
IDW.
that Will Robson came out and he was livid. He even had a tweet saying that comics broke him, and then he ended up later deleting it. And then Alex DeCampi had a tweet saying, "Listen to all my mutuals out there. If one of your books was canceled by IDW, contact me, DM me directly, and I will put you in touch with another publisher that might want to publish your book." And then Will Robson said, "Hey, I can't get into your DMs," and she's like, "I don't know you."
I feel like this is so
That was
perfect.
Yeah.
I just honestly, for all these fucking weirdos in this industry, I hope you starve.
I was going through it. It's like Real
really wanna
Housewives
starve.
for comic
Terrible.
books. I was loving it.
Yeah.
I wish the industry was so amazing that everybody was millionaires, but that's just not the case right now.
No. I wish that everyone that's in there now starves to death. So
I
that
don't want
maybe we
anyone to
can
starve
find
to death.
anybody.
It's terrible.
They've all been weirdos. I mean, everybody that works in comics is weird. Let's be real.
Yeah.
There's no
I talked to
normal
Eric
people.
July. He seems super normal.
Well, all right. I said
'Cause he's making money.
And he hasn't been
gonna-
working in long. So.
Yeah, I mean, is this really a thing? We'll see. Yeah, two things.
Okay,
I mean,
like-
how much is he even really doing? Hey, I'm hiring these people to do something. Hey, I'm hiring these people to do something. Hey, I'm hiring these people to do something. Are you doing anything?
He wrote I Saw 1 and 2.
I heard about that. Well,
And
that's
probably
two things.
3 and 4 and 5
Yeah,
and
we'll
however
see.
many.
We'll see.
No,
Just like I said for Kelly Sue DeConnick, we'll see how long you're really in comics. You know, we'll see.
He's got
Are you saying Eric July is the next
No.
Kelly Sue?
Well, I heard his story is kind of.
I've heard it.
Well,
I've
he's
heard
got-
people that don't like it, and I've heard from people that said it was the best thing since The Watchmen.
Well, I'm gonna do Olympic style judging on this. I'm gonna take the worst and the best, and I'm gonna get
Cancel
rid of
him.
it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna see what the other people say.
I mean, he's got Chuck Dixon. He's got
Yeah, but that's
Hey.
other people. I'm only talking about Eric
We're talking
July.
about
You
him.
mentioned Eric July. I'm not talking about Chuck
I
Dixon.
talked to Chuck. He seemed pretty normal.
He's not talking. I get Yule's point here.
Yeah.
Right.
It's about
Talk to me
Eric.
in the 80s if Chuck Dixon was a normal
But I'm
guy,
not going
when he
down
was,
that
like,
road
working.
with Doc saying I want people to starve to death. I
Well-
want everyone to be happy and doing well.
Well,
Kumbaya.
Yeah.
I want the world to live in harmony.
Maybe-
It's like when I was in
Maybe
the
some-
military,
comic
someone,
books all day
someone
long.
will get selected for promotion above me or something, and someone will be like, "Oh, I hate that guy. I don't want him to get promoted." I'm like, I'm happy when everyone gets promoted. Doesn't
Well, we'll
matter
just go
for-
with some of them should go on diets. Maybe is what we'll say then.
Well, not every hitter, not everybody can hit 200.
I was just gonna kind of not completely back what Doc said, but if a good chunk of these people get out of comics, I'm okay with it.
They
Well,
will.
they probably would have a better
Oh, yeah.
opportunity in other vocations. This might not be their speed.
Like, there's going to be
stuff.
another Teeny Howard. There's going to be another group of Stephanies. There was. I always make fun of JT Kroll. He was my most recent. I don't like this guy, but for everybody that likes a Scott Lobdell, there's probably someone that doesn't. That was the worst time for X-Men in the 90s for anybody that read it in the 70s.
Scott
and
Lobdell.
80s,
Outside of some Flash stuff, isn't very good.
Well, I just, even Dan Jurgens, not everybody likes his stuff. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
You
There's
know,
a lot of idiots out there then.
Yeah. I don't like Capes books, Conan, that type of stuff.
Man, last week's Conan was dope, Joe. Or Yule, did you sell any of that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
People
I
bought it.
wanted
Look
that. Yeah. Dude, that guy's art. I thought I was looking at John Buscema come
Yep.
back to
Yeah.
life. It was did he take pictures of John Buscema and just put them on there for fun? You know, that's what it looked like.
You think he was like AR art?
No, not at all. That's
Buscema style?
Delatorre. He does real work.
It's funny you talk about it. When we mentioned my kids, I was actually reading that Conan, and my one son walked by, and he actually was impressed. He actually said, like, "What is that?" And I told him, and then he like shoved.
Did you say those are
something at me.
titties?
Yeah, there you go. That's a big,
Second
muscly
page
man, is
right
what
there.
that is.
Oh.
And he seemed a little interested, but then he walked away to annoy
Dude,
me.
So he's about to have sex with 2 ladies. Check this out.
Exactly. He would have been in then.
I'm really into the Savage Sword that they're going to be putting out. It's going to be magazine sized and black and white. It sounds like. Whew, that would be
Man,
cool.
don't say that stuff to Doc. He says that's what's ruining comic books. It doesn't fit in his shelf.
No, well, that's understandable, but we're talking Savage Sword. It has to be big if you're going to do it.
I like the Savage Sword of Conan with Jerry Duggan and Ron Garney. I thought it was
Yeah, if
amazing.
it was black and white and large sized, it would have been even better.
Perhaps.
I'm thinking.
What does Lane say? Lane wants to do a hero battle. DC's Krona versus Marvel and the Beyonders.
Beyonder.
Beyonder.
Kenneth, no, get Kenneth in here. He's the battle guy.
Oh, I'm
Come on,
sorry.
BattleBot Kenneth.
Who is Krona? I don't know who that is.
He's a Green Lantern villain who peered into the Eye of the Universe, I think
Yep.
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has his gauntlet, all this
Yeah.
stuff.
So like he looked all the way into the beginning of the universe, and then he got all this like crazy power or something. Or is that Galactus?
Both.
Beyonder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, are
Which
we
is
going
Beyonder.
with the actual Beyonder or like the Jonathan
We're going with
Hickman, where there's like a whole race of Beyonders?
Yeah.
Let's go with the Beyonder, Doc. Not
Okay,
the
then I'm going to go with
Beyonders.
the Beyonder.
That white suit that he wore in Secret Wars
Yeah,
2.
fuck yeah,
Yeah.
where he's like, he's looking like David Hasselhoff.
He had that. He now that guy had. Now this is the battle. Who has the most Jerry curl in their hair? Black Lightning or the Beyonder? That's my question.
Oscar Gamble. That's who has it. By the way, Krona, he's a Malthusian, so he's like 2'3". So I think the Beyonder takes him down.
Lane says it's Krona, JLA Avengers villain version.
Oh.
I haven't read that in a while.
Yeah.
Or I didn't get to the part where he was worth a shit in that yet.
Well, speaking of this, Kenneth, this goes right into you want to do your favorite amalgam characters. What would your amalgam character be?
Batman and Spider-Man, my 2 favorites.
A
'Cause I
Batman that
love-
can swing around the city? He already does that with his batarangs.
If you have the incredible skills of Batman, his intellect, his martial arts, everything,
No.
combine it with Spider-Man's type of ability and his powers, it's like Mark Waid did, like combine Batman with Superman with Green Lantern Spider. Look what you got there. So I would combine my favorite characters, and you would have one hell of a character.
People would probably
be
get
unstoppable.
upset, though, because then you'd have Batman kill Selina with his radioactive jizz, and then we'd have some issues.
And then Uncle Ben would have died.
He has money. He make a special condom to
That is true.
protect.
I think he's
Yeah.
just doing it on purpose, actually.
But this hero, his parents would have been killed in Crime Alley, but then his Uncle Ben would have raised him, and then he would have
Yeah.
died too because of something he did. You
But
could
then,
have.
and then Huntress is born, and she's the Hulk. We get it all.
I was gonna say, can you imagine if this happened with Talia instead of Selene, and you had a radioactive Damian Wayne?
Damian.
running around?
That'd be good. And even with all that, they still go and, for just the sake of it, destroy York, Pennsylvania.
There
They
we
just
go.
destroy it,
Down.
right?
Let's do it.
Everybody's happy.
This would be my character, Josh. I would combine Superman and Doctor Strange. And that way, whenever he used his Doctor Strange magic powers, he would depower himself and fall to the earth. It would be a conundrum. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Dr. Fate is so like that because he has super physical powers as well as magical powers.
Yeah, but Dr. Fate isn't vulnerable to magic like Superman is. The Kryptonian side would be totally put off by his Doctor Strange side. Huh?
But wouldn't his magic, the helmet, like Because
No, the Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
What are they
I
doing?
love
That'd be
the
pretty
motto.
good, right? Every time he used magic, he'd almost kill himself.
It kind of was. I thought they were going to go with that concept when Superman was a vampire, and then the sun is supposed to fuel him. But
Superman can't be a vampire.
Here we go.
Jim.
I
He's
know.
invulnerable. First of all, they can't bite through his skin. Second of all the UV
Wait, you don't
energy
think
that's stored in his
fangs of a
cell-
Dracula or a vampire can't go? You don't think like it's butter,
He's
knife and butter?
vulnerable.
Kryptonite fangs.
He's vulnerable to magic, and I would go with
Vampires aren't
paranormal.
magic. They're just
They're paranormal.
they're monsters. It's different.
Yeah, but it's like
They're still
monsters
paranormal.
because of
They
religion,
weren't
so that's
created
magic,
by magic.
right?
It was a virus.
I think there is some. I think Dracula can bite Superman because he has magic.
way.
Like stuff
Dan
in his-
Jurgens
No?
has a story where he's going against Dracula, and at the end, the winner of it all is the devil. He saves the day. Just a little snippet. Tim Drake and
Listen.
Superman.
That's your amalgamation, Tim Drake and Superman.
No, that was the story. I don't
Oh,
amalgamate.
That sounds
yours.
really gay. Tim
What's
Drake,
your amalgamation there,
Superman.
Jim?
I don't know. Now I just want the Hulk Damian Wayne. Is what I want him
Well, there
running
you
around.
go. That's an amalgamation. It's a
you
DC
go.
character and a Marvel
Throw
character.
it out there. I actually like a lot of the amalgams, like Doctor Strange, Fate, stuff like that, as it is. So I'll go Hulk Damian, the Incredible Jerk. They'll call him, I guess. But I love Damian.
Ah,
Starring Steve Martin.
Oh
Yes, and they'll be shooting at the cans.
no! What
Great moments
the
of movie
best
history.
the best amalgam is Wolverine Origins, X-Men Origins Wolverine Deadpool. That version of Deadpool. There's your amalgam.
oh,
Everybody hated that fucking character.
But who was the amalgam of? He's Deadpool.
Cyclops and Wolverine and
Oh yeah, because he had
Deadpool.
all their powers.
Yes, so he was an amalgam of
But
them.
his mouth was.
oh yeah, I
shut.
see what you're talking about.
Now,
And
I'll
then
go.
he
I'll
had,
go.
like, the Baraka blades instead
Yeah,
of actually
yeah.
carrying swords.
yeah.
That was a
Now
bad
there
idea.
wasn't.
So bad.
Now Amalgam did have Dark Claw, which was Wolverine and Batman.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
that could have worked if it was written better.
they also had like
Um,
Bruce Wayne, Agent of Shield, stuff like that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, Yul, it's your turn to pitch. What's your amalgamation
I
character?
don't
What's
have
your amalgam
anything.
character?
I got nothing for you.
You're
I
a
was
comic
thinking.
writer.
No, I am not. I'm a comic store owner.
How about
I
an
just-
amalgam?
I
Megan
just spew
Fitzmartin.
ideas every now and again.
We'll have Megan Fitzmartin, Teenie Howard, and all the Stephanies. They're
Well,
all
I was,
an
you know,
amalgam.
someone said something. Maybe it was Josh said something about gay character. It's something about a gay character, and then I was thinking, like, what two gay characters that would maybe I'd put together? I don't want to do this.
Are you shipping characters? Is that what
No, I'm not
are
shipping. I'm not trying to
Okay.
ship. I'm just
No,
like,
they're
you know.
gonna have.
Then
a
I was
gay
trying to
baby.
like what.
Oh, they're
and
having
then
gay
Wes
babies.
is
Bobby
talking
Drake
about
and Tim Drake.
dichotomies of powers. You know, Superman and Doctor Strange. And so I was thinking, well, is there like who has a brain on the outside at Marvel? Because I would do that
The
with
leader.
the brain. Who?
The leader.
Oh, the leader
his
and the
head was
brain.
this
There
big.
you go. I would somehow put those two brainiacs together. Oh wait, there's a guy named Brainiac. Never mind.
Brainy Axe.
I don't do
Completely new
this.
character.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh! All right. Who has a name of Axe in their title?
Blood Axe.
Blood Axe and Brainiac. So it's Brainiacs. There you go.
I was gonna say, wasn't one of those fake Nightwings called Axe?
I believe so.
I know there was a Nightwing named Nightwing.
Yeah.
He also says Krona in the JLA Avengers smashed the Gay Master and Galactus each with one punch.
What? You can't. What? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I remember that
don't
from
even remember.
from George Perez's book.
Mhm.
It's been a long time.
That's
I gotta
fanfic,
admit.
I guess, at that point.
It kind of was. Even when it came out, it was kind of just fanfic.
Yeah, man. The minute Superman carries the hammer, it's over. Yeah.
He has Mjolnir and
And the
Cap's
shield.
sword or Cap's shield. Yeah.
Dude, it's awesome. I love that. That was cool.
Thank you very much to everybody for supporting the channel. We'll get one more topic in because I do want to hear from some people. Doc and I already talked about this in full, and hopefully he won't chime in too much, but I imagine he's going to have to talk about this a little bit. Tom Brevort's big news ended up being He's leaving the Avengers after 25 years to be the head man in charge of the X-Men as their group editor. Now, you got your X-Men shirt on. Well, you did have an X-Men shirt on, Kenneth. You changed shirts?
I changed it like a while ago. You just like,
Oh, we're talking about X-Men. You're right where my microphone is right there. All right, Kenneth. Now that you're the X-Men aficionado himself, do you think Tom Brevoort moving from the Avengers to X-Men is going to increase the quality of X-Men comic books?
I hope so. I would like to hope so. What? I don't know much about Brevoort. Is he a straight shooter? Is he a good writer? Or... okay, then that's
Tom Brevoort.
He's a dick.
Is a douchebag, but he was most effective when he was the continuity cop. Once he got involved in creative side, he was very, very good at telling everyone else no, but never good at directing them on what to do. That's his problem.
So he's been Avengers editor for 25 years. That's even back when like Bendis was doing the book.
Yeah.
He didn't.
But,
he's never done anything then, as far as I'm concerned. He let Bendis come over and talk about Spider Jizz on New Avengers, and then he let Jeff Johns come in for a minute and do whatever he wanted, and then, I mean, I can't even remember. I guess there was the Busick stuff before that.
He took over. Yes, he took over at Heroes Return.
Yeah, but I mean, I could let Kurt Busiek do a classic Avengers style story with George Perez and stand-ins, and I think I'd do an okay job just staying. Are the pages in? You know, that's all I need to do. Where's that story, Kurt?
I gotta hold off on what.
I
don't want to. Yeah, you have to wait
your video.
Yes.
Okay.
So
yeah. But that's Tom Brevoort. He did a lot of Avengers with people that were probably, I mean, what continuity did he really?
But did any of them sell?
Yeah, it was when Bendis came on. It definitely was a sell.
Yes,
it definitely was. But Bendis was as white hot as you could possibly be at that time. And I remember when people were upset about it in the pages of Wizard, they would interview him and he would say, there's old Avengers you can go read if you don't want this new stuff. You know, just like, now.
Yeah. Well, here's, and I don't want to cover too much ground here, but if there's one thing I will give Tom Brevoort credit for, is he actually turned Avengers into an A-list title for Marvel. It was up until he got Bendis to come in and he gave the okay to that. It was an also ran book at best.
Do you talk about Fox owning X-Men as one of the reasons why Avengers also was put a lot more effort into it?
No. I didn't.
I am right now.
Yeah. I mean, look, but he managed to do it, which no one up until that point had been able to.
Well, Jesus, putting Spider-Man and Wolverine in a comic. I mean, that doesn't take a genius. It was Marvel always felt like they were preventing that kind of stuff from happening on purpose so that those characters wouldn't be so overused all the time. I mean, Spider-Man was a guest star in almost anybody's comic book, on the third issue, but even still.
Spider-Man was a reserve Avenger back in the 80s.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. Just usually with the exception of Cap and Thor, well, I guess Iron Man too, but a lot of times those would rotate. There wouldn't be every Avenger that has their own freaking comic book either. When you put everybody into an Avengers book that's important to Marvel.
He did manage to. He got the Grant Morrison Big 7 JLA treatment. He did it to the Avengers.
Yeah. But so he's going to X-Men. If he doesn't have ideas and you're just going to let any creator come over and do whatever they want, whether it's continuing Krakoa or changing the status quo entirely, is he even going to really be involved in it?
Well, he says he's coming up with ideas.
Oh, he is. All right.
You
You better have an idea who's going to work there.
That's the biggest thing, isn't it?
Look, what I can say is I do know that the goal for Marvel with the X-Men, and I'd heard this, gosh, probably 2 months ago, was that they were planning on having someone pretty much relaunch the X-Men department around March. But they couldn't get anyone that was willing to take it. But their goal is to try to get it to align more with this animated series that's coming out. So you're going to have more of your traditional team, potentially more traditional stories. Whether or not they're going to be good, who knows? But
will they still be drug dealing segregationists on an orgy island?
Well, they can't do that because of the cartoon's going to have standard and practices, right?
Oh, do
You
they?
can't have Wolverine banging or Cyclops and Jean.
Meet in the Sammy action.
Can
What do you
they?
think,
We
Jim?
don't
As
know.
a comic book reviewer, are you excited for a new direction for X-Men under Brevoort?
Well, if it ends up being, say, a reboot or something like that, I'll be excited because I might actually start trying to read it again because I have not read an X-Men comic in years now. The first Hellfire Gala was, and what are we up to, like the 18th one now?
You haven't read any X-Men comics since then?
No, I ended up dropping them. And then
does Gabe do all those?
Gabe does. Gabe reads them and does that, but I don't even think he's reading most of them at this moment.
In fairness,
go ahead. I was just gonna ask Jim. You made it all the way to the Hellfire Gala before you rage quit.
I did, and I was hanging on by a thread. I was doing an X-Men podcast, and the thing is, you feel like you have to review them all, and I started weeding some out, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. And by the end, I'm like, I think I hate more than I actually like. So I just and the weird part is, if you put up videos it gets numbers, and that's how much. Like it even is that. Like I can't even deal with it, even to do that.
I know exactly how you feel, Jim. I used to talk about my own version of an X-Men podcast here on the channel, and we would review almost all the X-Men comics.
Yeah.
And we whittled it down, and then we realized I hate all of this.
Yeah,
that's what
making
happened.
my soul hurt despite people watching it.
Yep.
If I can say one thing, one possible benefit to Tom coming in, he could convince Jerry Duggan that annual events don't happen every 12 calendar months in comic books. Doing an annual new team and gala is about 3 weeks in continuity. Maybe he'll realize that, and it's like, this is the early February party. This is the late February party.
You know why it was, though? It's because Hickman wanted to write Legion of Superheroes, and every year they would have the fans write in to see who was going to be the new leader of the team. And this feels very much like that. And I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily whatever. I mean, that's what I believe. I believe we all know Hickman was supposed to possibly do Legion over at DC, and he just took that concept, probably this whole, Moira McTaggart story, and was probably going to do a Dreamy or something like that over there.
That would make more sense.
Well, maybe not her, but yeah.
But the last time, look, because this Brevoort guy, you say he came from Avengers, now he's going to X-Men. The last writer that I read who was making that move was Hickman, like you said, Yule. And from what I heard, Hickman,
Right. The executive editor.
Okay. But what I heard from Hickman, his writing on Avengers was like the best stuff ever. And he went to X-Men, and I love House of X Powers of 10. That was good. But then Marvel, they interfered and they messed it up. So who's to say it's not going to happen the same thing with this Brevoort guy? So I don't know. I'm cautious.
Well, Hickman's Avengers was all Hickman, whereas Hickman's X-Men became all these other people, and then Hickman was gone all the way through. He lasted the entirety of his Avengers run, and it ended with Secret Wars, but that didn't happen here.
But most of those
that's the only thing that's different.
But those people that Hickman brought in, he was like, it's almost like he was doing a TV show, and that was his writer's room, and he was like picking up on the right all these other books.
And then he got voted off his own island.
Yeah, he got outnumbered between Jordan White and the other writers. Because Brian Edward Hill was like, I'm done with this crap. Peace out. and that was the
That
only
was the
other
first
like
one.
competent person that was in there.
So how will this be any different? I don't
Well,
know if you
it
guys
depends on the writers that he brings in. If he's able to
Yeah.
bring in some competent writers, but it's not like who's he going to bring in? Jed McKay. I mean, certainly Jed McKay's doing adventures for it.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing
And-
some adventures characters. He's all
He's
right.
still going to be stuck with the same shitty associate and assistant editors.
Probably. Maybe he brings
Annalise
his own
Biss
editors
is
with him.
quite possibly the worst thing in
Well,
comics.
When Perch was on this show, it didn't sound like every editor is going to be around next year.
Yeah.
So if they're not hiring people,
Definitely look out for that one because Doc and I have a full video kind of coming up on this, talking about some of the reactions to Brevoort and stuff. It was funny. We shall see. I'm rooting for him. I would love great X-Men comic books to talk about again. Like Jim, I was talking about them nonstop, and then eventually you just have to stop when there just isn't anything good. So we'll see what happens. Let's get to some good news here. Jose Tabi says, "I have not read any X-Men comics, but I'm interested. What would be a good entry point into good X-Men stories? Any X-Men writers to start reading first?"
None today. Go way back. Start.
Giant
the
Size
80s.
X-Men
Yeah.
from Len Wein,
Yes.
and then Chris
Yes.
Claremont picks up at, is it issue 89?
94.
94, X-Men 94 eventually becomes Uncanny X-Men, and that's where you start, in my opinion.
And you have an endless supply, like a 10, 15-year run. We have nothing but lists.
You quit. You quit right just shy of in the 480s. That's when you got to quit.
So you get 400 comic books to read right there with that one. It's probably the
you
best
don't
run of
want
all
the
time.
first 94 or 3.
Yeah,
No,
the
no,
first
you're not
one-
read the first
Genesis.
93. It's a different
Mutant
season.
Genesis. Mutant Genesis is I consider truncated, but in my opinion, that's Chris Claremont and Jim Lee. I've said are one of the best duos in comic book history. They're like
You're gonna
like the
start
Rolling
with
Stones.
Mutant Genesis, though.
No way.
no.
Giant
I'm
Size
saying,
X-Men.
I'm saying what we said. Start from where we were. Go to Mutant
okay.
Genesis, and you stop there. But I'm saying Mutant. And
You stop when Paul Smith isn't the artist on X-Men anymore,
No,
or
honestly,
the first time John Romita Jr. After
it's
that.
honestly it's when Matt Fraction fucks up the team and goes into San Francisco.
The last
that
good
is-
issues were X-Men in the 230s. You want the Brood story and the Genosha story, and that's as far as you need to go. No,
and then you don't finish the Genosha story. with
no,
Extinction Agenda?
what you mean back when it ends, I guess, when Grant Morrison blows everybody up.
Mutant
That's
Genesis,
another
that's
title.
like the Rolling Stones. That's Mick Jagger and Keith Richards at their best. Okay, nobody
But,
said.
yeah, I say start out Giant Size X-Men, jump right into X-Men 94. Chris Claremont, his first issue of the book. You're going to get John Byrne, you're going to get Jim Lee, you're going to get a host of amazing artists along the way, and it'll take you a few years if you read every day just to get through it.
Yeah, get the epic editions. That's what you want. They bounce around and they're not always in print, but when they are, it's $45.
Comixology used to have really, really good deals to where you could just get them for like
Sure.
$5 each, the digital versions, but Comixology's dead now, so who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we should
the
also highly recommend X Factor by Stephanie Williams that came out like 2020 and 2021.
I can recommend X Factor from about issue 60 through about 130, 140, and then again at the Peter David X Factor Investigations era, all the way up through, honestly, through the end. It was good through the whole thing.
Yeah, X-Men is one of the easier comic books to actually get into because there's a definitive starting point for what it gets really, really good, and it lasts a really, really long time, and you get some of the greatest comic book stories of all time. Some people would say that the Phoenix Saga, the Dark Phoenix Saga, is the best of all time. I would disagree with that, but it's definitely one of the best of all time. So, good luck with that, Jose de Beast, because you got a lot of work ahead of you, man. That's a lot of great comic books to read. And I do want to say this before we start wrapping this up. I have a guest book for next weekend, and it's going to be absolutely amazeballs. It's going to be huge. I don't want to say it right now because things can change between now and then, But if you're here now, you're going to want to be there next weekend for the entire show starting at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday. Got a huge guest. It'll be the biggest guest I've ever had on the live stream in the history of the channel. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I'm really excited about that. Let's get into some comic book recommendations and wrap this bad boy up. Yule Carter, you own Fantastic Comics in Berkeley, California. Are you recommending any of the comic books that came out this week?
Oh yeah, I am. Check me out on Fantastic Comics Tuesday nights. I do a live show not unlike this, but it's all from my point of view, my store's point of view. I've read some comics that came out last week and this week, but Avengers #4 was really good. I liked it a lot. That whole Ashen Combine bit. So we were talking about how comics are written for the omnibus, and before that they used to be written for the trade. So you'd get like in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th issue kind of just stuff that really didn't matter that you could have told in a few pages. When Jed McKay chooses to go multiple issues and stuff, this was all action, but everything was set up in the previous issue. So I assume the next issue will probably be the end of it. And it feels, even in the old days, all of this story would be only in 1 or 2 issues. But he is more bridging the gap from the old days to today, better than other people. I also really enjoyed Superman Annual, and I don't agree with these guys' lukewarm reception to it at all.
I said it's
fantastic,
good.
fantastic
I
illustration.
didn't say it was perfect.
It's pretty close to perfect as a Superman title, especially if you're really upset about this whole night terrors interrupting everything. And you're like, man, I really need to read something important. You get every character that's involved with the Daily Planet doing something, and it's just one of those types of issues. And I think it was perfect. I really do. Read Hunger in the Dusk by G. Willow Wilson. First issue was really good. And if you like more fantasy, I finally finished Conan and Fire and Ice, and those were good too. Conan
Did you read The Sacrificers?
Ooh, Sacrificers was pretty sweet also. I like Fia Murray's artwork
was a great
lot.
fantasy week.
Dude, when he was that Papa Bird was like just beating the shit out of his kid.
Reminded me of my youth.
Spare the rod, ruin the fruit.
Exactly. There's been some really good comics that have been coming out, and I know there's something I missed. But the doom and gloom. It's only when we're talking about the main stuff like Spider-Man. There were still some good things in that book, but the double price was fucking ridiculous. And that's a true saving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Kenneth, thank you for coming back onto the panel. We enjoyed having you. You're the big Spider-Man fan and X-Men fan. I guess you came out this week. Are you recommending any new comic books this week?
New ones, unfortunately, no. Nothing grabbed me. I will recommend some oldies but goodies. And I'm glad that you're appreciating here because one of the people in the chat has been evaluating my progress. So he's been saying I should contribute more. So whatever.
Well, these guys are always on the channel. They're hard to get in on a word, you know.
I'm just kidding. Now, an oldie but goodie as far as Spider-Man, Masterworks Amazing Spider-Man Volume 23. This volume includes the introduction of my favorite Spider-Man villain, Hobgoblin, right here. Beautiful cover right here. Pretty hefty price, but it's worth it. Some great classic Spider-Man stories. Roger Stern, he's the man. One of the Spider-Man run.
That's like a couple $1,000 to get that book. So that 236 or whatever number, 238.
238.
Sorry. Lost my cred.
In high grade, yeah.
Yeah. So
and I've got
$50 or $100 for a masterwork isn't that bad. Sorry.
No, that's fine. And this pretty boy Joe Fixit, I really like this miniseries. Now, yes, this is Incredible Hulk, but this has Spider-Man. This is one of the best Spider-Man you will see in the current market today. Peter David, he is the Marvel master. Like he knows these Marvel characters. He knows Hulk and Spider-Man. This is a great, fun little blast from the past with his Joe Fixit Hulk run and Spider-Man and Spider-Man's villains, Kingpin's in it. Just great fun. Got some
the Kingpin
right
Joe Fixit fight was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not going to get in it right now. I want to waste time. I have opinions about that, but anyway, I think you guys mentioned the new 52. I found these oldies but goodies. Detective Comics Volume 4. I have Volume 4 and Volume 3. This is Volume 4. Yeah. Volume 4 and Volume 3 by John Layman and Jason Fabok. This is some consistent Batman storytelling, even though it's post New 52. But I found this very, very cool. Batman fighting crime, fighting Penguin, and the crime element in Gotham City. And last but not least, because you guys know I'm writing a comic book, I found this goodie in the library, so I ordered this off Barnes & Noble. Stan Lee's How to Write Comics. And he goes into the whole history of how writing comics, the plotting, scripting, different comics from the 60s, 70s, 80s. Just great classic storytelling from the master. When Marvel was actually a house of ideas, and you're learning from the great master. So I highly recommend this. So great stuff.
I'm gonna
Very nice.
dovetail the Stan Lee book and plug Wes, because Wes back in the day had like a writing 101 that you did with Aaron and was it Joe? Aaron and Joe?
No, it
Aaron?
was
yeah.
Pellegrini.
Okay, yep. So good stuff there too. So check that out.
Absolutely. Thank you for helping me plug the channel there. Jose the Beast says Superman Annual and World's Finest Teen Titans, thumbs up. Currently reading Superman Red Sun for the first time, like every bit of it. Oh yeah, back when Elseworlds were good. Great suggestions there. We'll definitely be talking about those later. Jim, speaking of talking about those later, you and I are gonna do a best comic books of the week because Drew was in Chicago.
Mhm.
He's pimping his wares off at Fan Expo or C2E2. I think it's Fan Expo this week. So don't go into all your new comic book recommendations, but do you have anything else to say?
No, just that Yule's wrong with
Yeah.
the idea.
Yes.
It's not perfect. I mean, a lot of people. First off,
Yes,
the
it's not
idea that Lois is like, "Hey, everybody, we need stories, so let's switch everybody up like we're a sixth grade freaking club and run off." But it did end up being funny with Lombard. I loved Lombard and was very happy to see him. But
Yeah, he was hilarious.
he's always the best. But yeah, that was odd. But it did have a lot to. It had a bang for your buck. I mean, to go against what happened in the Spider-Man 31. Yeah, the idea of getting a lot for your money, you really did. So I did like it.
Absolutely. Josh, did we already do you?
What was that?
Did we already
You
do
just-
you?
No.
Oh, you have some recommendations?
Yeah, I'm gonna recommend the Enfield Gang Massacre #1. If you've watched the stream before, you know I've promoted That Texas Blood. It's the same creative team behind it. It's kind of got some connections there. And if you haven't read That Texas Blood, they've got a couple of trades out. Go pick them up. Go catch up. These are both excellent stories. I also picked up The Madness by JMS, and ACO is on art. I grew to be a big fan of ACO back when he was working on Midnighter. He's got a kind of cool vibe that he'll add in. He kind of says fuck it to the script and adds panels when he wants to kind of help tell the story. So those two are probably my big recommendations for this week.
Very nice. You got anything special coming up on Popeye Culture?
Popeye Culture, no, we're not going to have a stream this Tuesday, unfortunately. I've got some work stuff that's going to have me up at 4 a.m. Wednesday morning, so I'm gonna sleep Tuesday night. But other than that, starting later this month, we're going to have a new show called Graphic Content coming out, where we'll have a panel discussing either trades or graphic novels. We're going to start with Batman Year One, just because of my Batman background, and I've got a lot of big Batman peeps coming in from the internet. So I've got Jay from Comics Pause, also Comics Now. I've got Andrew, who started the comics division at Batman News. I've got Andy from Holy Batcast, and I'm talking to London from History of the Bat. So we're going to have a fun little group there. Oh, and Ian from Dark Knight News. So good group.
And you're ditching us this Saturday, right? Because you're too good for us?
Yeah, I got work. You know,
Wait, he's not the
people are-
special guest
He's not the
next
special
week?
guest.
What?
He's going to wish he was here. Let's put it that
I
way.
probably will. I'm gonna be pissed. You work with stupid people, and then stupid people do stupid things, and you have to make up for their stupid decisions. I'll just leave it at that.
He's not going to be here this Saturday. I believe the next Saturday as well. So the next 2 Saturdays you're taking off?
Yes, sir. I'll be
All
working.
right, let's see if I can find another ringer for you on the next one. Get an adequate replacement for Josh. I think
Wes
people
is
will be
gonna be
very
like,
happy with what
I'll
we've
show
got.
you. I'll show you for missing you twat.
Hey, just see what happens.
Yeah.
You're going to like it. Finally, last but not least, Doc, are you recommending any new comic books this week?
Absolutely not. You know what? I will reiterate from our review last week because I bought it. I'm waiting for it. It's getting delivered today. Spider-Man Fake Red. I want to read the rest of it because I really enjoyed those first 2 chapters that we read. So I will recommend that. Now, as for me, what am I recommending this week? We're going to go little old school. Captain America Annual number 10 or number 8. That classic Mike Zeck, Spider-Man, or what the fuck am I talking about? Wolverine versus Cap cover.
Is that DeMatteis writing that one?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, you.
And it's but Mike Zeck.
Yeah.
And then since we were talking about Lobdell earlier,
I do not agree with this at all.
I like this. It was fun. It was fun, and this is my favorite comic book artist named Clayton. I like Clayton Henry more than I like Clay Mann or Clay Crane.
Oh, I like Clay Mann more.
I like Clayton Henry more,
He
especially
draws juicier
early.
bullets. Okay.
Then we're going to go with Baby's first Deadpool book because it's a good fun, some good fun.
I don't think I was collecting during that time. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was one of their one shots that they did. And you'll be happy. Nothing's confined within a slab this week that I'm recommending.
I love it. I do love that.
And finally,
classic.
Yep. ASM, what is this? 316, I think.
Yeah.
So first Venom cover. So
Very nice.
yeah.
Oh, it takes me back.
All right. Let's get out of the close-up before Doc does another face reveal.
I thought Mark Silvestri was your favorite artist, Doc.
Good question.
I love Mark Silvestri, but he is my favorite artist. I never said he wasn't. I just said this was the first Venom cover.
No, one of the previous comics you said that artist like.
Oh, no. It's my favorite.
It's Clayton artist.
Yes, he's my favorite artist named Clayton because there's 3 guys named Clayton that I know of in comics: Clay Mann, Clay Henry, Clay Crane, and Clayton Henry's my favorite.
Okay,
Bold choice. So I do want to say thank you very much to everybody. Definitely be looking out for next weekend. I don't want to get out the word yet and get people excited because things can fall through, but if it happens, I think you all are going to be very, very happy, and Josh is going to be very sad, which this is kind of the way I want it. So all have a good weekend.